45 minutes. It's up to the speaker whether he wants to use the whole 45 minutes with and including the Q&A, or give it 10 minutes at the end of the session and reschedule the session within 35 minutes. It's up to you, Dr. Rodrigue Fontaine. Over to you, sir, Doctor.
Okay, thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum barakatuh. So it's always a little bit difficult after a short break to restart and get back into the groove. Let me start by sharing the slides for this week. Again, this particular session is about laying the foundation and laying the groundwork for all the other modules and kind of going over the Islamic business principles. So the brief is we have 8 weeks, we have 45 minutes, and then last week there's going to be a last lecture. I'm very much interested in developing skills. And so even though online it's a bit difficult, but I'm trying to explain my approach that I actually do in the classroom so that it gives you an idea how to move forward if you are interested in acquiring these skills. So we've covered some of the basics, concept, halal, haram, and ethical business practices. We talked about the difference between what is halal and haram versus something that is just purely ethical. And we're starting reflecting on the Quran. So we have done Surah Fatiha last session. Today we're going to look a little bit at Surah Al-Baqarah. And then subsequently we're going to look at the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ and the Seerah. And the idea is always the same. It's not simply about knowing this, it's about reflecting on it. In other words, looking at ayat of Quran and then thinking about how does this apply to me? How is this relevant to me? Trying to understand in the context of our personal situation. So we are here reflecting on Surah Al-Baqarah Part 1, Part 2. Now, one of the reasons I want to focus on Surah Al-Baqarah is because it's the longest surah in the Quran. And so people assume that it must be very, very, very difficult. And what I'm trying to demonstrate to my students is that, in fact, Surah Al-Baqarah is quite easy to reflect upon. Yes, there are many ayat and there's a lot of content, but essentially every surah of the Quran is, there's a logical framework, right? Once you understand what is the logical thread, reflecting on it is quite easy. Now, before I get into the detail of Surah Al-Baqarah, I want to explain a little bit about the methodology. So I kind of have already shown the fact that I've got a YouTube channel, and essentially I ask my students to watch a 5 minutes video and then do a presentation. And after they do the presentation, they have a kind of a group discussion with their friends on either an ayat of Quran or a hadith and so on and so forth. I didn't really explain how I came up with these videos. So this is what I want to do today, is kind of share that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the slides and I'm going to share. Where is it? Where is it? I think it's this one. No, it's not this one. Excuse me. I want to share this one. No, it's not that one either. So it's this one. Okay. So for many years, I've been using the website bayinatv.com, which is the website of Nouman Ali Khan, as my one of my main sources of reference. I'm assuming that a lot of people know about the work of Numan Ali Khan. You may not know about this website, so I'm going to very briefly show you how this website is organized. So you have two basic sections. One is Arabic, the other one is about Quran. So let me briefly show you the Arabic. So there are a number of units, and these units basically will take you from 0 to hero in Arabic. And I've done this course with Numan Ali Khan. I've relied a lot on the videos, and it is probably the best way to learn Arabic on the internet. It's very, very, very detailed. So that's the Arabic side. On the Quran side, you have two basic approaches. One is called concise commentary, and the other one is called deeper look. So the concise commentary is kind of a flowing discussion. So you can understand the whole Quran, and every video is quite short, so 20-25 minutes. It doesn't go into a lot of detail, but if you are a beginner, this is a really good place to start. So as a beginner, if you have the videos that are too detailed, you just feel overwhelmed, and it's moving too slowly, and you just lose your motivation. But as a beginner, the concise commentary is really, it gives you a good foundation. And I think it took me 3 years to do the concise commentary, right? So I did the whole Quran, and it was very time consuming, but I did feel that, you get to know overall what the Quran looks like. The deeper look is basically the same surahs, but going in a lot of depth. So if you look at, for example, Surah Al-Baqarah, the 1 hour is basically 1 or 2 ayat. And it's every single ayat is explained in a lot of detail. Now, one of the things that Numan Ali Khan kind of has specialized in is the structure of every surah. So every surah is not just a collection of ayat, but there's kind of a guiding theme. And within a surah, there are a number of parts. And generally, there's 1 or 2 central ayat in each part. So you might have, for example, in Surah Al-Baqarah, there's a part where there's 30 ayat. And these 30 ayat revolve around 1 central ayah in that particular part. If you understand that central ayah, you actually understand the 30 ayat in that part, right? So I essentially listen to all the videos on Surah Al-Baqarah. There's 114 videos. I follow the structure that Numan Ali Khan talked about, and I just did a 5-minute video on the central ayat. And the aim is to kind of give a quick synopsis of what that part is, and then again getting my students to reflect on that particular structure, or sorry, that particular part of the Quran. Okay, so that's kind of how I put together these videos. So it's not random. It's certainly not random. Okay, so back to Surah Al-Baqarah. So Surah Al-Baqarah, there are 5 basic themes or 5 basic parts. The first is an introduction. The second is the creation of Adam. The third is the story of Bani Israel. The fourth is the role of Prophet Ibrahim, especially the building of the Kaaba. And the fifth is the Muslims until our time. Okay. So here, I mean, if we were to talk about this in detail, it would actually take a long time to do this slide. So I don't really want to talk about this slide in a lot of detail. But one of the things that is important for you to understand is when I did these videos and these slides, I was very careful not to allow my personal interpretation to interfere with what the ayat was saying, right? So sometimes if there was an ayat that I didn't quite understand, I would check with someone else to make sure that I really did understand that ayat before I talked about it. That's the first thing. The second thing is what I found is that there is a logic which is a logic that a leader should follow. So what I mean by that is when as a Muslim, like imagine a scenario where I'm the CEO of a Muslim company and I want my the other employees in the company to appreciate the role of Islam in you know, as Muslims, we should be not only running a business, but we should be doing it according to Islamic principles. I cannot just randomly start talking about things. There has to be a logical structure so that my employees can know, you know, like kind of you need to help them be able to understand step by step what you're doing and why you're doing it. And what I found is the structure in Surah Al-Baqarah is a very simple but very logical place to start. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the purpose of creation, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is he has complete knowledge. You as a human being, you will make mistakes, but the first thing to do is to know that Allah accepts tawbah, right? So whatever mistake you make, it's not that much of a big deal as long as you make tawbah straight away. Then I'm really fascinated with the story of Bani Israel. This is what I call a negative case study, right? And I really feel that it's so fascinating that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts by giving us an example of a community that had revelation and they went down the wrong track. And essentially, the Quran identifies the fundamental problem that the Bani Israel had, which is their hearts became hard. So it's not about how much you know about Islam, actually. It's not about how much you know about fiqh or aqidah or anything like that. It's literally, is your heart hard or soft? And if you extend that to the community, what is the feeling in the community about the hardness or the softness of the hearts? Then you have the role of our Prophet Ibrahim. And this is something that maybe as Muslims we don't really appreciate, is the fact that when we're talking about giving dawah to non-Muslim, our priority should be on talking about previous prophets, so that when other people of other religions know that we have certain things in common, we're not presenting ourselves as, look, we're different, you have to follow us. It's we have the same ancestry. It's just we went in slightly different directions. And the last part of Surah Al-Baqarah is basically, as Muslims, we have to make a choice. Until Yawm al-Qiyamah, we have to make a choice. The prophets is not with us anymore, but we still have to decide whether we want to follow the Quran and the Sunnah, or are we going to do our own thing and we're going to just say, oh, well, you know, we're born Muslims, so whatever happens, we're going to go to paradise, which is basically the mistake that Bani Israel did. Okay, so for me, what is fascinating with Surah Al-Baqarah is not just a religious discussion, right? Because this is always about management. It's always about Islamic management. It's about there is a set of ideas which allows you as a Muslim business leader to talk to your followers so that they understand what the Quran and the Sunnah is about. But ultimately, you want them to start reading ayat and thinking about ayat. So you shouldn't be giving a speech, but you should say, okay, let's look at this in a step-by-step manner. So this is one of the most beautiful ayat in the Quran. There's so many things you can say about this ayat, and I'm so aware that I have a moderator that gave me a very little time. By the way, inshallah, I will only talk for 35 minutes, so there's 10 minutes of Q&A at the end. Here, if I'm talking to my students, the first thing that I would observe is Ya ayyuhan nas, right? It's not Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. So this is not for the Muslims. This is really important to understand. The message of the Quran is not for the Muslims, it is for humanity. So this already tells us we have to talk about Quran to non-Muslims as well. That's the first thing. Second thing is Rabbukum, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't say, oh, humanity, worship Allah. He didn't say that. Say, worship your Rabb. So there has to be a difference between worshiping Allah and worshiping your Rabb. And the difference is subtle. If you understand that Allah is your Rabb, you already understand that you are a slave of Allah, right? And the idea of your Rabb is your Rabb in the Arabic sense of the word implies that Allah is the one who created you, He took care of you, and He loves you, right? So there's some very, very positive and optimistic connotations with the word Rabb, which may not come across in the translation, but in the Arabic it is there. Okay. So Ya ayyuhan nas a'budu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum walladhina min qablikum la'alakum tattaqun. Why alladhi khalaqakum walladhina min qablikum? Essentially, the argument that a lot of people say is we do not want to worship Allah because our forefathers didn't do it, right? And so the argument is, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who created you. He's the one who created your forefathers. Like, what are you talking about? The first person to worship Allah is Adam alayhi salam. He is your forefather. So you're talking nonsense. And the idea of doing ibadah is for you to develop taqwa, right? So straight away, there are some very, very important concepts that is here, which is the idea of taqwa. So in an Islamic business context, why should we start an Islamic business? Because we want to do ibadah to our Rabb. And it's one of the ways for us, as anybody who's involved in the world of business will know, you either develop taqwa or you lose your taqwa, right? In the business world, you are either lying, you're cheating, you are cheating your customers, you're cheating your suppliers, you're doing this, that, or you are being very, very careful in your business dealings. And because of your concern and your care and how careful you are, your level of taqwa will actually increase. Okay, so this is, for me, this is such an amazing ayat. Okay, so this is a really important point. Developing taqwa must be the reason why Muslims create an Islamic corporate culture in their organization. It's not about profit. I've seen so many Muslims who talk about if you apply Islamic business principles, you'll make more profit, you'll be, more efficient, you'll be, maybe, wallahu alam. But for me, that shouldn't be the motivation. The motivation is literally, this is your responsibility in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are going to stand on the day of judgment, and you're going to have to answer to everything that you did and said while you were running a business. And when I started this journey in the world of Islamic business and Islamic management, I was 34. Officially, I made the commitment to get interested in Islamic management when I was 34. When I was 34, I was, alhamdulillah, still very young. Okay. Now I'm 54. I can tell you, the older you get, the more aware you are that you're going to die soon. And the motivation to be able to stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, I try to run my business according to Islamic principles, that becomes very, very strong the older you get. Okay. Yeah, so I don't know whether this is still true or not, but sometimes when I talk to some people, I have the perception that sometimes people are Islamic as a reaction to history. So, you know, fortunately for many Muslim countries were colonized, and in order to out of hatred of the colonizers, we want to become Islamic. So it's like you're doing something, but the motivation is incorrect. So it's forget about the history, forget about the politics, forget about, it's literally you want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu alam. That's just maybe perception. So that's the first part is the introduction to Surah Al-Baqarah. The second part of Surah Al-Baqarah is focusing more on the creation of Nabi Adam alayhi salam. This is actually one of the central ayah. I'm gonna skip this. I want to go to, oh, sorry. I thought that there was another one, but never mind. So let me talk about this. This is an amazing ayat because the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says is that our relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in this name of Allah, innahu huwa tawwabur rahim. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept our tawbah. If we do a sincere tawbah, it will be accepted. Number one. Number two, there will be no delay in accepting that tawbah. How do we know? Because in the Arabic, you have this word fa, right? In Arabic, if you do something, fa, something else, it means it's done automatically. There's no delay between you're making tawbah and the acceptance of the tawbah, right? And this name of Allah that is emphasized, innahu huwa tawwabur rahim, it is mentioned many times in Surah Al-Baqarah. So it's almost like sometimes people have got this question in their minds, you know, will my tawbah be accepted? Will my tawbah be accepted? Yes, if you are sincere, your tawbah will be accepted. You shouldn't have any doubts about that. Now, this idea of your tawbah being accepted is the number one concern of my students. Okay, so again, for me, my approach to this is I get my students to do presentations like 5, 10, 15 minutes, and then we will spend 45 minutes talking about how these different ayat relate to their personal experiences as students. And I just listen. I listen to their discussion. And I've, in one semester, maybe at least half the classes that I do, I just listen to what they're saying. And the dominant discourse is, alhamdulillah, you know, our sins can be forgiven, our sins can be forgiven, our sins. It's like, I don't know why, but my students are so obsessed with having the sins forgiven. And I tell them, like, you guys are normal people. Like, okay, you're not angels, but you're not bad people either. Like, why are you so obsessed? Because for me, my understanding of Islam is there's two parts. One is obviously you want to do ibadah, you want, your sins forgiven. But another part of the religion is you want to help other people. So if all of your concern is about getting your sins forgiven, you're not worried about helping other people. So it's like you're only understanding half the religion almost. You're not concerned at all with helping other people in the society. But somehow this is something that my students are extremely worried about. And if I ask them, for example, out of the different ayat of Quran that we will discuss throughout the semester, which one is their favorite one? This is the one that they love the most, because this is the one that gives them a lot of hope. Now, I've had this discussion with a lot of people, because normally when I have discussion with my students, then I will discuss with other scholars to get their perspective, because I'm trying to understand, like, why is there so much emphasis on this? And I think one of the comments that I've heard several times is that when a lot of Muslims kids are brought up, um, the point that is made is that the tazkira that they get every day is, you are a bad person. You are not a very good person. You are a bad person. You are a bad person. And basically it's a very negative kind of form of dawah, where instead of encouraging people, it's more towards giving people a sense of guilt and all of that. So I think for a lot of our students, when they kind of become familiar with this kind of ayat of Quran, it is really important for them to kind of maybe reanalyze a lot of the way that they were brought up. So anyway, I've got 8 minutes left. There's something that I wanted to talk about, and I think I might as well talk about it now before I forget. So I mean the lectures at the Kuliah of Economics, we agreed to do this certificate with IIIT. We didn't really know the audience. And so therefore we kind of created generic slides so that if we find that the audience is very young, we can kind of make it easier. If we found that the audience is very more experienced, we can make it a little bit more difficult. And I've got a feeling that there's a lot of people who are listening who are quite experienced. And maybe some are also professors in universities and researchers. And what I was thinking is that it would be really, really nice if there's 2 or 3 people in the audience who would like to try to replicate the work that we have done, right? So for example, let's say there's someone in Indonesia, there's someone in Singapore, maybe another researcher in Malaysia, and we kind of get together and we say, okay, we all agree on a certain protocol, and we all deliver or follow the certain protocol. So for 10 weeks, for example, we get our students to reflect on different ayat. We all of this is agreed. And then we can compare the results. And then we can see whether across 3 or 4 different universities, the reaction of Muslims is the same, right? And we can decide what instruments to use and whatever. But this would be a really good example, because if this is only done in UIA, then the argument is, oh, well, this is only because maybe UIA students are special, which I don't think so. But if it be replicated in other institutions, then you can make an argument in favor of, well, the data can be generalized. And if it's across different countries, but the results are the same, then we know that it's not a question of culture. So, if we do it in an interesting way, we can kind of eliminate certain variables. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to say is that if there are researchers who want to kind of look at this, I really would love for other people to replicate what I've done in the classroom, just to kind of uh, um, find out whether or not it can be replicatable. Okay, according to my time, I've got 5 minutes left before I open the thing to the floor. Yeah, so the story of Bani Israel, this is probably the section of Surah Al-Baqarah that gave me the biggest headaches, because there are lots and lots of behavioral problems, right? The Bani Israel basically they were so insolent to their prophet. They disobeyed Musa alayhi salam so many times. They seemed to be so ungrateful. They did all these really weird things. They even killed their prophets and so on and so forth. And there's so much going on in these 80 ayat that it's really hard to understand exactly what's going on. And this is where I really appreciate the work of Numan Ali Khan, who identified the central ayat. And this is the central ayat. And essentially, it's all about the hearts becoming hard. So if you want to look at all the problems that people have, it basically runs down to whether the hearts are hard or whether hearts are soft. Okay. So let's not talk about Bani Israel. Let's talk about the situation amongst the Muslims. One of the things that really scare me is when I talk to a lot of people who have been, in the dawah scene for a long time. Sometimes one of the things that they tell me is a lot of Muslims, when they are young, are not very religious. And then when they start discovering the Quran and the Sunnah, one of the things that happens to them is they start to become very tough, right? And so their behavior towards other people becomes very tough. And because of this toughness, it becomes more difficult for people who are not very good Muslims to connect with these now religious people, because they feel that, whatever they do, they're being judged, they're being, almost condemned. Is like, it's a really kind of bizarre thing, because for me, if you understand the Quran and the Sunnah better, what would happen to you is you become softer, right? As a human being, you should have a better akhlaq. You should have more kindness towards people, because you basically realize that dawah is based on kindness, right? If you talk about the style of dawah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was so kind to people that people would be drawn to him and would tell him about their problems and this, that, whatever. And very often the Prophet ﷺ's body language would be interesting. Like there's certain hadith where people came to the Prophet ﷺ, admitted that they were intimate with a woman without committing the final act. And the Prophet ﷺ smiled. The hadith basically says the Prophet ﷺ smiled and just said, oh, never mind, just make tawbah. Right? He didn't shout, he didn't scold, he didn't say, why did you do that? Don't you know it? None of that. He smiled. He said, never mind, just make tawbah. You know, and when people did make tawbah and that tawbah was accepted, and he would be very happy for people. Like one of the Sahaba, he made a big mistake. He didn't go for jihad. So people were wondering whether he was a munafiq or not. This is a long story, but I'm trying to give the very short version. And for a few weeks, he was isolated from the community. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed an ayat saying that that person had been forgiven, the light on the Prophet ﷺ's face was so bright and he was so happy. It's like there was a sincerity and a kindness in the akhlaq of the Prophet ﷺ that just made everybody want to love Islam, right? So that's the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The sunnah of Bani Israel is the heart becomes hard. And sometimes you can see people who know a lot about Islam, but their hearts are so hard. And it's something really, really, really tricky. And you can have different hypotheses why that's the case. But in the context of Islamic business, if you are the CEO of a company, that's my timer. If you're the CEO of the company and you're trying to get everybody in the company to appreciate the importance of Islam and you want to create this corporate culture around Islam, you have to be very, very careful that you do it in a way that is very soft, right? So you cannot allow all of a sudden you have got this passion about the Quran and the Sunnah, and you shouldn't allow that passion to become a gap between you and people who haven't yet reached that understanding, and then they feel that you are becoming more and more distant, more and more judgmental, and you're always reminding people of, oh, if you do this, you're going to go to hell. If you're going to do that, you're going to go to. People are never motivated by hell, right? So let's not get into that discussion because then we're more on the how do you invite people to Islam discussion. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to reflect on this particular ayat. I wanted to kind of come back to this simple diagram, but I believe that these are three very important pillars. So taqwa has to do with the internal motivation. Akhlaq, you have the rights of Allah, you have the rights of the people. The two can never be forgotten. And the rights of the people is you don't harm them. Number one, that's the priority. And then number two, if you can, you help them. And sabr is about consistency. So whether you have easy times or tough times, you have to be consistent in the way you deal with people. Okay. So alhamdulillah, I'm going to open the floor for any questions. And so maybe the moderator, are there some questions you want to read? I'm opening.
Yes, Prof, I think so that there is one question from the audience. He says, Saram, how do you monitor attendance for each participant for the validation of the certificate that is not for us? Probably the question, yes, this is a question, how to replicate your work here for the research purpose, as in what's your criteria as such?
So I think the first part, whenever you want to work with people, is you have to get to know people. So this is a separate discussion, but people who are interested can email me at the Kuya of Economics, and then we just have a Zoom discussion and just kind of get to know one another better. And if it's possible, then we discuss further. If it's not possible, at least we get to know one another and put a face to a name and interact a little bit. But so just send me an email. My email is ridwan_fontaine@iium.edu.my. And then yeah, that's it. Okay, so let me just make a few, I've got 3 minutes left, a few more comments. One of the things that I realize with a lot of people is they're very uncomfortable reflecting on the Quran because somehow they've been taught that they're not good enough, right? They have this perception that unless you have uh, a lot of knowledge about Quran and Sunnah, it's if you start reflecting on the Quran yourself, you're going to get lost. So the whole point is the way these videos have been done, I've done the hard work, right? So literally, I listened to all the videos of Numan Ali Khan before making these 5 minutes videos, and inshallah, the 5 minutes videos do reflect the basic meaning of these ayat. Um, that's the first thing. So and we're not interested in tafsir, right? It's literally okay. So for example, one of the questions that I ask my students when we are reflecting on Surah Al-Baqarah is, do you have a vision for yourself? Right? So normally they want to be doctors, they want to be engineers, they want to do this, they want to do that. I say, okay, fine, alhamdulillah, that's your worldly perspective. But do you understand what it means to be a slave of Allah? Like what would it mean for you in practice? So generally, what I find is people can give you very generic answers, but when you're trying to get them to be more specific, they kind of don't really understand it. And then you say, okay, for example, if you are specializing in marketing, how can you be a marketer and at the same time be a good slave of Allah, right? Or, for example, I had one student who was into accounting, and he told me his vision was to do forensic accounting. In other words, to use his skills as an accountant to find and trace all the people who were basically misusing accounting. All right. So I would say, okay, good. That's for me, that's very practical. So it's always trying to get people to think about the ayat of Quran kind of gives you a big picture and literally what is your role? Like if you are in HR, what is your role in HR? Are you there to control employees or are you there to empower employees? Right? So trying to get people to really connect the ayat of Quran with what they're doing and you want them to really see the connection between the two so that the ayat of Quran becomes a real guidance for their life. Okay, so I'm looking at the time. I think it's 9:45. So
we can take one last question.
okay.
Ask, how can we distinguish between halal and non-halal business in achieving profits?
Say that again.
How can we distinguish between halal and non-halal businesses in achieving the profits?
Oh, this is very easy. So first of all, that's a fiqh question. So if you're running a business and you're not sure whether your product or services is halal or not, you literally just ask a scholar. I mean, in many cases, it would be very obvious, right? In some cases, it would be require maybe a discussion. So, for example, when it comes to halal food, obviously halal food by definition is halal. But when you have certain practices where people, for example, use a lot of oil and then they try to recycle the oil so that they're reusing it as many times as possible, is that permissible in Islam or not? That one I don't know. And that's where you would have to kind of have a discussion with someone who understands the fiqh to see, well, okay, as long, I mean, you're saving cost, but you're not harming the customer, then I guess it's okay. But, you know, so yeah, you need to kind of go into the details. But those things is literally, if you are afraid to ask a scholar, it always means deep down you already know what the answer is, right? So for me, this is always the number one criteria. Go and ask a person who has got knowledge. And if you're uncomfortable doing that, it means you deep down, you know there's something you're doing in the way you're running your business that you shouldn't be doing. And that's why you're afraid to go and talk to people about it. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Izwan, for this insightful session. I hope that our learners and the whole audience might have learned a lot, inshallah.
Inshallah.
And have to close and have to move to the next presenter. So our next presenter today, or the next speaker today, is Dr. Arfifah Sabian, who will be talking about on the topic Shariah as the foundation of the work culture. And let me just share some of her profiling. Dr. Nurita Abdul Sabian is a lecturer in the Department of Business Administration, College of Economics and Management Sciences, IIM, and she holds a PhD in Business Administration with her research focusing on developing a unified theory of the firm grounded in the Taqwa paradigm. Her academic interest lies in Islamic management, particularly the integration of Islamic principles into contemporary management thought and practice. And she is committed to the contributing advancement of knowledge in the field through teaching, research, and community outreach. So I would like to invite Dr. Nurita to share her slides and to start the presentation and start discussion. She has 45 minutes. Over to you, Dr. Nurita.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, it is audible.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir wa tammim bil khair. Alhamdulillah, thank you very much Dr. Syed Ahmad for inviting me as the second speaker for the module 2. I would like to thank to my seafood in Islamic management, Dr. Rodrigue Fontaine, for his sharings and as well was enlightening me, inspire, and also something that I can relate so much with the topic that I will present to all of you today. My topic will be Shariah as the foundations of the work culture, integrating Islamic principles in the business ethics. Okay. What we will try to achieve today, first we will try to understand the role of Shariah in guiding ethical behavior decisions in the workplace in the context of organization, business organization. And then we want to recognize how the principle of maqasid Shariah, and we also will look at look a bit about qawaid al-fiqhiyah. One of the I can say that something that we have blessed by being a Muslim. We have qawaid fiqhiyah as a method to help us in understanding the deen. The scholars come up with this summarized in the form of method to help us to make a decision in our daily activities or life, especially in managing organization. In order to shape, adjust, and balance in the context of organization, balance work culture. Then last, we will try to explore what's other example, practical applications of Sharia-based value in leadership and organizational culture. Okay, if you can remember, last 2 weeks, we talked about Tawhidic paradigm. Yeah? Now, from Tawhidic to work ethics, our focus today is the Sharia itself. If you still remember, I show you the tree, right? Start with the roots and the trunks and the branch and the fruits, the leaf. Yeah. So the today focus the Tawhidic paradigm. The Tawhid focus on the roots, and today focus would be the trunk. If you can imagine a tree, a good tree, big tree, the trunks. Yeah. So today presentations based on this verse, Surah Al-Ma'idah, verse 3. Actually, the verse are longer, but I only take this part. Al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakumul Islam Madinah. Yeah? This day I perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you. And have approved you for Islam as your religion. Okay, this surah. We just for Muslim, today is 18 Zulhijjah. 18 Zulhijjah, right? Okay. If we just finished our best 10 days of the year, Zulhijjah. So all of us, recently we do have the Arafah day. Yeah, this is also when this verse revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This verse revealed on the day of Arafah, the greatest day of the year. And then during that time, also fell on Friday. In Malaysia, we call it Haji Akbar, Jumu'ah, which is multiplying the blessings because of the day. And then it's happened at Arafah, the Mount of Mercy, Jabal Rahmah. And then what's the time after Asar? During the dua is accepted. So what happened during that time is over 150 Sahabah companions gathered for Hajj. And then this is the first great pilgrimage led by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then they listen to the message, to the khutbah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then what are the things that we want to highlight from this verse? What I want to highlight from when Allah mentions through the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah already perfect the religion and completes his favor. The first is perfections of deen, perfections of faith. Meaning to say, Allah perfected the entire system of faith. We have belief, we have rules, law, regulations. There are obligations, and then there's also ethics, ihsan, how us should act, to beautify our actions, in all aspects of life. It's not only in the context of you as a person, but you with your family, with your sibling, with your community, with your neighbors, with your company. When you at company, you as an employer to employees and others. There's no rulings were revealed after this except reminders or encouragements. And then scholars ijtihad clarified and applies, but never change. Okay, meaning to say that throughout the years, during the time of Prophet Muhammad 1,400 years ago, the deans are already complete. But then now we can see the deans are still the same. They are referring to the foundations, the principles, but in terms of the ijtihad might be different because of the context of the organizations and in the context of business, and the societies now change. But still they are referring to the epistemology, meaning to say the source of knowledge, which is the Quran itself and the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad SAW, which is never changed. The second is completions of divine blessing, Itmam al-Nikmah. During that time, because of the nikmah, during that time, they can enter the Makkah and then they can perform the Hajj. That's among the nikmah during that time. And for us, the best divine blessing is the Din itself. Yeah, we have a guidance, we have the manual of life. Yeah. For us, for a Muslim, and even non-Muslim mentioned by Dr. Ridwan just now, there are a lot of verses in Quran where Allah refer, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. That refer to all humankind, because Prophet Muhammad SAW sent to this world to as a rahmatan lil alamin, not only for the Muslim but also for the rest of the people in this world. And then the third is Islam as the chosen way of life. So if now we are very confused, there's a lot of problems. As we discussed in the my first session last time, the crisis happened in organization, business ethics. There are a lot of there are many brilliant people, but yet still they are doing something that's not which is unethical. And how can they still doing all such malpractice actions, even though they have the knowledge. But then when we understand human being, they always not only intellect, we do have others component in our life, our desires, nafs, and this is also something that we have to be aware to ourselves. When we aware, that's why in Islam we encourage to have tazkiyatun nafs, purifications. We encourage to always in the state of seek for the truth and seeking knowledge, so that we aware about the state of ourselves. Oh, I'm greedy. I want more material. I want more. Why I become like this? So then you need to purify yourself, and that's the thing. That's why when you understand Islam as chosen way of life, Islam provide ways for us to solve this kind of problem. One of the way, for example, like Ramadan. In the month of Ramadan, Allah provides a training for Muslim, 1 month training. What's the main? To achieve, the main objective is to achieve taqwa, and then and also how self-controlling, and this is the mechanism for us to practice our self-control. Even there's nobody, we control ourselves, we're able to control our desires, our actions, because we want to please him alone. This is taqwa. And then it's also later, after the 1 month training, it can be also practiced in our a life as a whole. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. So the fifth one is essence of the verse. We learn from the verse is perfect Islam, perfect and unchangeable faith. So this is also something, I think I call it as rahmah when I discuss this with my student. When we have we have a reference to refer, which is never change, is there, and you know that this can be trusted. It is a blessing for us. And then the second is complete favor and divine supports. Allah provide us with all the blessing. When if you look at after this, we go maqasid Shariah, whatever Allah prescribed for Muslims, especially something which is under the category of obligations, it's always benefit for a Muslim. It's always something that good for us. So this is we consider as a favor. And then the third is Islam as the final universal way to live in obedience and peace. So in this world, when we understand, as mentioned by Dr. Ridwan just now, when we have the understand that we need to please him alone. It's not about what kind of people we want to be, success here, to have together asset, we have to, how am I as a servant of Allah? That question, these profound questions, actually it got us the ground for us to gain the peace that we want in this life. Okay, why Shariah matter in workplace? Okay, Shariah first, holistic guidance as mentioned, based in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 3. Shariah literally means a clear, straight path, and like a path of to water, symbolizing life and guidance. This is like in terms of the words. In the Islamic understanding, sometimes we call it as technical meaning. Shariah refer to the divine reward path set by Allah to guide human life, covering belief, set of belief system, worship, how we prove, demonstrate our belief, work ethics, how we live our life, social justice, interaction with others, adil, transactions and law. So what are the components? Quran, As-Sunnah, Ijma' Qiyas. This is the source of the truth for a Muslim. We can refer to this in order for us to find the truth. It is a comprehensive way of life that guides human behavior in accordance with the will of Allah, covering both ibadah and muamalah. Okay, remember the purpose of our creation. This is also we discuss in the Tawhidi paradigm mindset. Allah create us, man and jinns, for the main purpose. Our main purpose of creations is to worship Him. To worship Him. We need to transform all the activities, actions in our daily life, starting from our wake up in the morning until we sleep again, and at the night, we need to transform it to become act of worship, so that we are fulfilling our purpose in this life. So what is, this is just I call it as a recap what we learned in our first session, in terms of the ethics in Islam and Western ethics. Source, human reasoning, relativisms. It could be changing according to the time, people's opinions of the mass. So, but Islam based on divine revelations, Quran and As-Sunnah. Motivations, compliance, profits, law. Now compliance also, if you are not be careful, in any company who have even Shariah boards, if the motive is to compliance only, then sometimes it can deviate from the Taqwa, deviate from Taqwa. How? You are trying to find justification with the knowledge that you have as a Shariah. This is something that we have to remind. Why I'm saying this, because my husband too, one of the Shariah officer. So we need to be really subscribe to Tawhidi mindset, fear Allah, because in the company there are many occasions that this is wrong, but at the same time you want to comply with whatever needs of the organizations. But who are you? What is your position? If you are as a person who there should provide to advice with regards to the Shariah matters, you have to fear Allah and you have to be accountable to Allah, and then you have to make sure that the compliance not according to the desire of the CEO, of the profits, of whatever, but the compliance is just to meet the pleasures of Allah. So the goals, utility, fairness in terms of the Western ethics, and the goal for Muslim Islamic ethics is Al-Falah. We want to success both dunya and akhirat. We need to be answerable not only to the board member, not only to the top management. We need to be answerable to in front of Allah later. The moral anchor, individual conscience, but for Islamic ethics, the Tawhid Islam. That's the anchor, the compass. Should lead this example and things that can help us is Taqwa and Ihsan in practice the Islamic ethics. What time is now? Okay. What is okay, from Tawhidi paradigm, we want to look at the now Shariah governed culture. So now you subscribe to Tawhidi paradigm. Okay, I'm a slave of Allah. I'm also hold the role as a Khalifah. Khalifah fil ard, I need to play my roles in whatever favors that Allah bestow upon us. For example, there are people who are very good in academic, intellect, so he and she can involve in education. So there are many people who are very good in other skills, technical skill and others. So that's why in organizations, yesterday we have a session with our rector. From the gardener until the top management, all of us are murabbi and all of us are uphold the rule of Khalifah. So everyone in each positions, we need to be responsible in our job. We have to do our best, and the conscience is only to please the creator, then we will excel, inshallah, in our work. So when you look at this, Tauhidic paradigm, you have the right mindset. For example, like Dr. Ridwan, Alhamdulillah mindset. So how we want to go to the Shariah government culture? So look at this. When you have the kind of mindset, so the next question is, how should I apply this in our actions, right? So Shariah translates abstract value into practical behavior. Alhamdulillah. So look at this, the table. We have Tauhidic value, Tauhid, Amanah, Akhirat, and there's a lot of concepts. So what are the principles? For example, in the concept of Tauhid, halal boundaries. The Shariah principle is halal boundaries. We learned of last time in the first session with me, there are rulings. For example, like haram, halal, harus, mandub, makruh. This is the halal. This is the boundaries that we have to observe as a Muslim. So what about the culture outcome? Integrity. So this is how should we see what's the concept. We fear Allah. Allah owns everything. Allah is the owner. Allah is the provider. For example, like when we understand the name of Allah, right? Allah is Razak. Allah is the one who provides the sustenance. When we understand that, how we want to transform into the activities, we need to do as what He wants, right? According to the will of Allah. So that's the halal boundaries. And then the work culture outcomes, we aware of Him. So that become integrity. The integrity will be there. The second is amanah, contract ethics. We know that we have the amanah. Amanah is we act as trustee, not only trustee from the shareholder. The board member assign you as CEO. Some the audience are CEO. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, you are a very good person with experience. Correct me if I'm wrong. So there are contract of ethics. Whatever. There are the roles, responsibility, and then there are the expectations. And then when you're able to fulfill, what happens? You gain the reliability. So people trust you. You do have the credibility. People see you as a person who walk the talk. Person who fulfill the responsibility. And then the third is akhirah, which is in the article of faith. One of the article of faith, we believe in Yaumil Qiyamah. So when we believe in akhirah, we know that we need to be accountable. Not only we need to be, as I mentioned, answer to the board members and top management, your boss, your HOD and everything. The accountability is beyond that. So you remember that even a simple thing, you cannot claim whatever even is not yours, because you know that Allah is all-knowing. So then it can inculcate the self-regulations in terms of the work culture outcome. MashaAllah. So what is maqasid Shariah? Okay, maqasid Shariah, when I teach business ethics in my class with my student in IIUM, we do have the UNICO, where the students been exposed to Islamic worldview, ethics for everyday life, and this is all the subject. All IIUM students will learn this. And then what happened then? When they enter the kuliah, they will have the kuliah required courses. In the kuliah required courses in, for example, in kuliah economics, we do have all the students, they must take subject, for example, like Fit for Economics 1, Fit for Economics 2, Foundation for Islamic Economics. All of these things, all of these courses provide in-depth discussions in the context of what is maqasid Shariah, what is legal maxim, what is. So when they come to our class, management class, this is where I always talk to my student is like this. This is where we have all the pieces of the puzzle. Then now, this is we want to complete the picture. Where can you use all the knowledge that you learn? And now, as a manager in organizations, how should you make a decision? How should you act? So that's how we try. So usually in our class, we don't discuss in depth because the students are already exposed, but we go recap the understanding, and then so that they can apply to their management knowledge that they learn. So maqasid Shariah, objective of Shariah based on the 3 categories. So daruriyah, hajiyah, tahsiniyah. This is the category. Why they try? What is maqasid Shariah? Because when we have do have the Shariah, the rulings, the do and the don'ts, they are purpose. We want to know why. And when the scholars studies about this, and then they concludes this, they are category of daruriyat, they are category of hajat, and they are category complementary goal, tahsiniyat. So when you look at all these hukum taklifi, for example, like wajib, makruh, mubah, mustahab, andub, and haram, when you relate to the category, for example, like daruriyah, religion, in the context of daruriyah, we have level of priorities: protections of deen, religion, protections of life, protections of annals, progeny, protections of intellect, protections of wealth. For example, like why it's haram for us to kill anybody? We don't have the right to kill anyone. So that's haram. So that's another protections of example of protections of life. So I will give you an example from the context of organization, but then if you go in depth and discuss about maqasid Shariah, actually you can get more than this. But I just want to introduce you maqasid Shariah. When you understand, you as a manager, you understand the purpose, the objective, you understand the category, then it will help you as a moral code in organizations. Shariah can act as a moral code. How this can help you to make a decisions, so you know, I cannot provide, I need to really observe the well-being of my employee because of the protections of life. Nowadays, there's many employees who become so stressed, burn out, and then they choose to suicide, right? You need to ask yourself, am I the reason, or have I provide the working environments that supports my staff to contribute to the organization as what I want them to perform. It also must be what about the environment that I provide to my employee? This is also something that as a manager you need to think. That's why when I talk to my student, when in one of the class, management principal practice of management, when you become a manager, it's not about you. You are a manager. You should oversee, facilitate, coordinate. This is the role of managers. So you need to know about resources. You need to know about the structure. You need to know about the people. You need to motivate the employee. You need to lead them. So this is the role of manager. So how we want to apply in the context of workplace? For example, I give you an example. In the protections of a deen, you provide for a Muslim, provide time, space of prayer. Not Muslim, also non-Muslim, they have their own practice. So you need to give their rights to practice their deen. The second is safety and healthy work environment. This is also under protections of life. You need to provide all the necessities that can protect the safety of your employees, especially the employees who work in constructions, environments. So this is the become a must for the employer to provide to ensure the safety of their employees. The third is knowledge development. You need to make sure that there are space, there are also training, there's also opportunities for the employees to develop their understanding, the knowledge. So this is also something that can provide satisfactions to the employee. When they have the opportunity to grow in the organization, they will gain the satisfaction instead of no satisfaction. Okay, the work is okay, I got my salary, I can do my task, but not really satisfied. But then when they have another added value, I can grow, I can learn, I've been exposed to many opportunity, and then it provides satisfaction. At the same time, leads to the motivations, and the employee become more productive, inshallah. Okay, observing ikhtilat between genders. This is also another thing. We want to protect the progeny. You cannot, as a Muslim managers, CEO, how have you really seen when you want to send your employee for training, for workshop, sometimes company make it hard. You have to go, you have to share the room, you have to please fear Allah. If the employees they are not mahram, you are not providing the facilities that they need, you send them, you force them to go something, they don't have the money, but you provide the money, then this is something that you have to observe the manager. Observing ikhtilat between gender, something that you can practice so that it can provide the respect kind of work culture between the male and female employees. And then fair pay contract, this is in the context of, well, you have to pay accordingly to the employees as what you promise. Okay, this example, I give example of IIUM. Maybe there's a lot of shortcomings still, but then Shariah guided work culture values. This is where we've been emphasized as the employees in IIUM. We've been always reminded as you are Khalifah, you are as a lecturer, you are Murabi, and you have to uphold the amanah. And then you're always in the state of continuous learning. You have to always have the spirit to learn more, to enhance your understanding so that you can contribute to the community. And this is also, we call it as high value. This is also the value that we want our students to uphold when they graduate from this university. So for example, what kind of work culture that we have, the Salihah environments, we're starting as simple as dress code, and then how we in terms of the ikhtilat between male and female, and then how we nurture the student, always be reminded by the top management and by the peoples. We also have a ibadah camp to remind all the employees in order to uphold the cultures, values in the work culture. Why Shariah guided? Because when you refer back, why we need to have this dress code kind of rules and regulations, or because of every staff, Muslim staff must cover their aura. So that's the Shariah guidance. That's example, one example of the work culture value in IIM. So what about Qawaid Fiqhiyah? Qawaid Fiqhiyah, legal maxim. This is one of the methods provided by the scholars. So there are many, but usually we just look at the 5 legal maxim, the 5 universal maxim, which is al-umuru bi maqasidiha, act judged by the intention behind them. Ad-dararu yuzal, harm must be eliminated. Al-yaqinu la yazulu bishak, certainty is not overruled by doubt. And then al-mashaqqatu tujat taysir, and then hardship begets facility. Al-addatu muhakkamatun, custom is the basis of judgment. This is example fiqh rulings. For example, like if you can summarize, this is the intention matter, harm must be removed, hardship bring ease. This is also something that you have to understand. Certainty prevail over doubt. For example, if you confirm the context like this, you follow this everything, and then you have to refer to the things that you certain. But you also need to consider in the context of custom. For example, when you go to Malaysia, you go to Indonesia, you go to other different country, they have their custom. This is also we learn in studies in management diversities, how you want to respect others. We refer to the principles. So we have the Tawheed. Tawheed is the core value that everyone's agree. We want to please Allah. And then we have the Shariah. This is the rulings that everyone's agree. We can agree on this. And then what about how you want to practice this? As long as within the boundaries, then you can. So that's about the custom. How, for example, after this, we have the Dr. Nurita about HR. How you want to apply in HR flexibility. For example, like there are a lot of problems with personals. So you need to go back. What's the intention? What the problem? You have to go investigate so that you don't take actions without justice to the employees. Ethical retrenchment procedures. This is also something. For example, harm must be removed. For example, in the context of just last time during COVID-19, the nature, usually the process of reporting is A, B, C, D, E. Because of the certain environment, certain situations, then you have to make it easy and flexible to the employees so that they can do their job within the constraints. So I think I don't have time to give more example. Later you can refer this. Actually, I just give this another examples. Workplace communication, the context of communication, because I emphasis on the culture in the context of how we want to practice the 5 legal maxim. In the context of communication, this is examples. Constructive feedback with sincere intentions. You have intention. You can give constructive feedback to your employees so that they understand, but you have to go back why I'm telling you this, so that people understand. It's not about they are bad person. We want to improve the employees, and then the rest. I don't have time. I think I need to go to the next slide. Okay, how to apply legal maxim in business decisions. What time? Okay. For example, when you want to start business, so you have to do your self-reflection. Do I really need to borrow? What kind of resources that I have? What are the consequences? For example, like you need to know all the consequences when you want to make certain decisions. Is it custom to borrow money to start a business? So all of this, when you want to have this kind of questions, when you want to make a decisions by having the qawaid fiqhiyah, then it help you to make a right decision. For example, like when you do this kind of self-reflections, some of the business person, they go for Islamic financial institutions. But some persons, they are more stricter. They go for borrow money for others. But then there are always consequence when you have a borrow money with a person, how you want to make sure that you can pay, how. But when you go to certain for example, financial institutions, maybe they already structured how should you pay them. So this is all the things as a business manager you need to consider. And the most important from when you do this kind of self-reflections, is it aligned with the Shariah? And is Allah pleased with me when I take such decisions? That's the key that we want to have. We want manager to have that kind of mindset. How to transform a workplace culture? Okay, first, as I mentioned, the will of the leadership. So the leader, myself, for example, all the audience, maybe some of you are CEO. If you want to transform your company, you yourself must have the will. Why I want. The second is restoring. Restoring tarbiyah, training, role modeling with the knowledge, right knowledge, Islam, what is Islam understanding, all the concept in it, article of faith, and it will provide you the right mindset. And then you can have beautify your actions with ihsan, perfect your actions by knowing that Allah always sees. And then the next is institutionalizing ethics in terms of the system. It's not enough. You have the right person, you have the will, but when you don't have the system, Shariah, the value KPIs, SOP, this is all the things that you need to have in order to ensure the process in place. And then you also need to have a realistic aims. For example, goals start small, build sincere culture. This is very important. When you have sincere culture, you have sincere employees who wants to build the company, not only for the dunya but akhirah. And then inshallah you have the right people with you, then you can progress. Case study of Bank Islam. This is also another story, how Bank Islam established in Malaysia because of they want to comply with the commandments of Allah. They want to go for a conventional. Now, what are the Islamic financial institutions that comply with the will of Allah? Then they start the establishments of Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad. So, work culture comparison tables. You can see purpose-driven, accountability to Allah. I think it's okay, this one. If you look at this is the three that I show you, I mentioned. And now what we in order to establish the Shariah-based taqwa, work culture, the focus is in the trunk, in this part, where this is the where you apply all the rules guided from Islam, the do and the don'ts, and then you put it in the system in all your organization, inshallah, it can be as a work culture. So look at this, yeah. Ethics not situational but rooted in unchanging divine principles. So you can gather everyone if everyone agree that we are here to please our creator. This is the principle that we agree, and then we want to uphold this. And inshallah, Shariah offer ethical compass to business organizations. Maqasid Syariah, understanding maqasid and qawaid. This is something we can use as a tool for Muslim manager to make a decision. And then we do have many, as example, companies that uphold Sharia in their practice and they are successful. Inshallah. Thank you, Dr. Saadi.
Thank you very much,
is...
Dr. Arfifah. Thank you very much, Dr. Arfifah. Do we have questions? You can ask any question by writing in the comment directly to
We have
Dr.
another 3
Arfifah.
minutes, okay.
Yeah, we still have some time, so we can ask any questions.
Stop sharing.
There are
questions?
There are some general questions, but are not related to the topic which we have taught. But I think if there is any question, I'll be speaking for you. So far, there is no question.
Alhamdulillah. Okay. No, Alhamdulillah. Forgive me if I is there anything mistake you want to add? You can just contact me. I also want to learn from the audience.
There is one statement, if you want to clarify, Dr. Arfifah. Sister Ramli, she mentions that earlier you mentioned that 150,000 companions joined.
Oh, maybe. Okay. I think I have to check back. Can somebody? Okay, thank you, please, Roya. Please, I will correct that. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
By the way, I appreciate all of you that you have shared a lot of appreciative comments. Thank you very much, all of you. I've been very consistent in looking and reading your comments. That was very, very nice comments. Very appreciative comments.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, so done? Betul?
So I think so that's all. As we all know that we have the time limit, so I would not be able to summarize what Dr. Arfifah has shared, but I'm sure that all of you must be benefited from the knowledge she has shared. So all right, now thank you very much, Dr. Arfifah, for your insightful session. Now the next in the queue is our another wonderful speaker, Dr. Nurita Juhdi, who will be speaking today on human resource management, HRM, and Islamic perspective on HRM. So I'll be quickly sharing her profile with you. Associate Professor Dr. Nurita Juhdi graduated from International Islamic University in Malaysia with BE honors, and then she pursued her MBA at University of Abdul. She also earned her PhD from the same university. Upon getting her MBA from Razak, she continued her service there and then joined IIM in 2011. She has been teaching management subjects, especially in HRM area. Occasionally, she also teaches economics-related subjects. She is actively doing research in HRM-related areas and has been supervising postgraduate students at the university also. So without any further delay, I would request Dr. Nurita to share the slides and please start the talk with the presentation. Over to you, Dr. Nurita. Dr. Nurita here, I think she is doing the slide. Dr. Nurita, can you hear us? For those who were asking about the slides, we'll be sharing the links and we'll be sharing the platform where you can download all the slides of all the speakers. Thank you very much, Professor Hanmi, that you have been very kindly, you have been with sharing the attendance and registration information with all the participants. Meanwhile, Dr. Nurita is about to join us shortly, inshallah. But Fifa, can you please discuss with Dr.
Dr. Nurita, Dr. Said, is it, do they have break? No. Usually last time they have break. I'm not sure.
I don't think so that we have a break in between. I don't think so. There's no such
Okay,
thing.
I try to contact.
Yeah. Oh, Brother Aziz, am I audible now clearly? Because you have mentioned a comment there. All right, so it's confirmed that we have a break at 10:30. It's already 10:34, so the next session, inshallah, will be at 11. So stay tuned, and inshallah, we'll be joining. The next speaker will be joining at 11, inshallah.
Dr. Said? Dr. Said? Dr. Said Ahmad? Dr. Said? Are you here? Okay, to all participants, we have a break until 11, inshallah. We will come back at 11 o'clock.
All right, everyone, welcome back. I hope that you are refreshed and re-energize yourself for the next two wonderful sessions. Uh, I have already shared the brief profile with you about Dr. Nurita Juhdi, who is the next speaker in the queue. So let's welcome Dr. Nurita Juhdi, who will be speaking today on human resource management, HRM, and Islamic perspective on HRM. So over to you, Dr. Nurita Juhdi, if you can hear us.
Thank you very much, Dr. Said. Okay, allow me to share my slides first, yeah? Right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi and good day to all of you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here. Okay, my name is Nurita Juhdi. I'm here to share with you training and development and Islam. So I'm going to discuss about training and development from Islamic perspective. So, as a human being, especially as a Muslim, we need to work in order to earn halal income. So in order to be able to work, we need knowledge or ilmu. That is the essential requirement for our job performance. So in the Quran, there are many places where Allah put the emphasis on the pursuit of knowledge. And here I'll give you two examples from Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 269, as well as Surah Al-Mujadilah, verse 11. So these are among two Quranic verses show the high value on the pursuit of knowledge by Allah. So the acquisition is not limited to our Islamic teaching, for example, for not only for salat, for fasting, zakat, but also knowledge is very important for us to be able to be able to perform our job so that we can perform the job effectively and efficiently. Okay, so why is knowledge important? Okay, all right. So here I give you two cases, right? Just to name a few. Okay, case A. Case A is about Malaysian parents who were jailed in Sweden. So this case actually happened, I think, about 10 years ago. It is about a Malaysian who was sent to Sweden by the government in order to work there. So he brought along the wife and the children to live in Sweden. So over there in Sweden, they live normal life. The father went to work, the mother stayed home, and the kids went to school. So being kids, they are sometimes get naughty that they don't perform their salat. So as the Muslim parents, what we do is normally we educate our kids. So what happened at that, these parents, they spank their kids, maybe just a little bit. So then when the kids go to school, the kids complain to the teachers, say that their parents beat them. And in Sweden, the law prohibit spanking, beating children that is considered as child abuse. But of course, we Muslims, we know that that is, sometimes we spank our kids, but it is out of love. But our there in Sweden is not allowed. So because of that, the parents were jailed in Sweden, and it's too bad. So this is why whenever we want to go to other countries where Muslim and non-Muslims work together, so it is very important for us to learn the culture and the law in the other country. We cannot expect them to understand us. We should, learn and do our part. Okay, here case B. Case B is about accidents in the workplace. Okay, here I give you the statistics from Social Security Organization in Malaysia also that confirms 66,574 accidents in the workplace throughout 2024. Actually, it's a decrease of 2.4% from 2023. Yes, it decreased, but why the accidents happen in the workplace? So, of course, accidents happens in the workplace due to many factors. One, it could be due to the hazardous job. Number two, it could be due to the machines that are not well maintained, or maybe the tool is very old. Okay, and next is maybe the employees, they are not well equipped with the knowledge about safety and health procedures. So that's why in every organization, it is a must compulsory for the company to provide training and development program for the employees so that the employees all are equipped with the knowledge, skill, and abilities so that they can perform their job. Because if they're not able to perform their job, they might end up in injury, they might end up in death, and maybe the injury or the death might also involve people, other people such as customers or maybe passengers, you know. So, meaning that having knowledge, skills, and abilities in the workplace is very, very important. So the employees must be given the guidelines, must be given the training so that they learn the SOP, the standard operating procedure, the guidelines, the rules and regulations, and the policies, the do's and don'ts, you know. So they must be educated, you know, about their manners at work, right? So this is actually very important, and sometimes some employees, they take this for granted. Okay, next. Let's find out the definition of training and development. Okay, for layman, training and development maybe are similar. Maybe they sometimes are used interchangeably. Okay, technically speaking, training is different from development. Training program that is used to facilitate or that is used to teach the employees with the knowledge, skill, and abilities that is required for their current job. So, for example, I am working as an officer in Human Resource Department. So, as the officer in Human Resource Department, I must know the procedures that I must fulfill. I must know about the rules and regulations. I must know about what is written in the employee's handbook so that I can perform my job. So in order to do that, the company must send me to training so that I know all those requirements. What is development? Development also is the program that teach employees with the knowledge, skill, education, knowledge, skill, and abilities that they need, but it will only be needed in the future. For example, right now, I am working as the officer in Human Resource Department, but I won't be in this position forever, right? I look forward to be promoted to higher position. Maybe in 5 years' time, I will be promoted to assistant manager. But before I am promoted to assistant manager, right from today, it is the responsibility of me and my employer to allow me to pick up managerial skill that will teach me how to be a good leader, how to supervise people, how to come up with planning, you know, so that by the time there is any promotion, then I am ready to be promoted. But it takes time. Okay, so training and development, they are different. So what are the programs under development? Okay, so here I give you 4. One is formal education. What is formal education? So formal education is any program that is formally conducted in order to equip the employees with the knowledge that they need for the future. For example, seminars, courses, you know, online course by IIIT. This one also is actually regarded as formal education because it's scheduled, right? And there are also people who are sent to do their masters, to do their MBA. So in order to prepare them for the future, if they need to be promoted to be a manager or assistant manager. And then next is job experiences. Okay, job experiences is for the employees to be given assignment, on the job assignment, or maybe they need to be transferred to other department or to other outlets so that they get to learn something new, right? So later, after many years, they will start, pick up, managerial skills, supervisory skills, maybe, all right? Okay, so next is relationship. Okay, relationship is for the employees to learn from somebody who is expert in the area, who has been in the area for a long time. For example, they learn from the bosses, they learn from their mentor, or maybe they learn from coaches. Coaches can be our boss, Our boss can be somebody who serve as a role model so that we can learn the skills, how to deal with our customers, for example. Okay, all right. The next is assessment. Assessment actually it is the process to it is a formal process to evaluate the strengths, weaknesses, and maybe hidden talent that employee has about him, so that he knows whether he is ready to be promoted. Okay, so training in development Islam actually we also apply all this. Okay, so um, as long as it is in line with the Shariah, then it is considered as Islam. Okay. Now, let us discuss training process. Okay, training process here, yes. You see here there are many processes. Okay, but the first one is very, very important, which is what is needs assessment? Yeah? This assessment actually, it is a process where when an employee failed to perform her job. Okay. So when somebody fails to perform her job, let's say there are customers complaining about her, or maybe she is not able to achieve the KPI for the month. Do you think training is the answer for all performance problem? The answer is not necessarily. Okay? So training can be the answer, training may not be the answer. Okay, so how to know that? Then we need to conduct needs assessment. So we need to conduct a survey among the employees. We need to ask the bosses about the performance, why the employees fail to perform as expected, why the KPI is not achieved, why customers are complaining, why students are complaining, for example. So if from the investigation or from the survey, then you find out that, oh, actually this person uh, cannot perform the job because this person always takes sick leave because of his health condition. That's why he fails to achieve his monthly KPI. So in that case, he doesn't need training. Instead, he needs to be given sick leave so that he gets to improve his condition. Okay, the other case, let's say an employee always get complaints from the customers, and the customers are complaining about his manners. He is very unfriendly. He doesn't smile. He did not greet the customers, and that's why the customers are not happy. Okay, that maybe require training because it is obvious that the employee cannot greet the customer. When the employee is being unfriendly, maybe the person doesn't know how to perform the job. So when the poor performance is due to lack of skill, lack of knowledge, or lack of ability, then training is the answer. Other than that, stop. But conduct training when it is not needed. Don't waste time, don't waste money. Okay? Give the right solution for the right problem. Okay, so now let's say training is the answer because the poor performance is due to lack of skill, lack of knowledge. So next is we say, okay, now this person needs training. So what do we do? All right, so we need to ensure that the employees are ready for the training. So let's say in one department, we have 50 employees. Not all the 50 employees need the same training. Maybe 10 need to be sent for training. The other 10 doesn't need any training. Maybe some kind of punishment or maybe a warning letter, right? Okay, so if they need training, so what kind of training that they need? So you need to identify what are the knowledge, skill, abilities that is needed by the employee so that he or she can perform the job. Okay, all right. So once you identify what knowledge, what skill, ability, then you can identify what kind of training method. Are we going to use classroom? Are we going to use seminar courses? or are we going to send this person to some kind of mentoring or coaching program, right? So that is, you need to know your employees, what kind of training, and whether the employee is ready to go for the training. Okay, next is to create the learning environment, right? So when we want to learn something and we want to learn effectively, we need to make sure that the learning environment is effective and conducive. So sometimes, for example, if you want to, for example, our engineering student, okay, our engineering student, they don't just learn in the class, they also learn in the workshop, right? For example, like our students in medical courses, they don't just learn in the class, but they also need to practice. They need to go to the hospital. They need to go to the clinics in order to see the patients. They need to get their hands dirty, to do hands-on thingy, All right. So the learning environment has also be conducive. Okay, what is transfer of training? Right. Transfer of training actually is for the employee to apply the skill and knowledge that he learned during the training to the workplace. Okay, right. There are many cases when we go to a training, we learn many things, but when we go back to our workplace, we do not apply the skill and knowledge that we learned. So there is no transfer of training. Transfer of training is when you learn something during the class or during the course or during the seminar, and when you go back to your workplace, you apply it. That is transfer of training. Okay? And of course, in order to be able to apply what you have learned, it is also influenced by many factors, right? Okay, so next is develop an evaluation plan. Okay, this actually is the last, the last stages. So whatever training that we want to conduct, we must plan how to evaluate whether the training is effective or not effective. Because training is expensive, you have to, maybe if you invite an instructor, maybe for 1 hour, the rate is maybe 1,000 per hour. So it is not cheap, So whenever you want to conduct a training, you must come up with the plan how to evaluate whether the training that you conduct is effective or not effective. Okay, because it is very costly and your employees spend time in order to attend the training. So there's a lot of resources that are used in order to conduct the training. So you must come up with a plan how to evaluate. Okay, all right, and then okay, design and conduct the training and monitor and evaluate. Okay, fine. So basically we are done, discussing the next. Okay. All right. So here we are going to discuss about formal and informal training, right? Okay. What is informal training or informal education? Let's say I want to learn Arabic language. Okay. Let's say I want to learn Arabic language because I'm not a native Arabic speaker. So let's say I want to learn how to speak Arabic. So I have a few options. Number one is I can register in an Arabic class. But in order to do that, I must follow the time, the schedule, that sometimes it's not suitable for me, right? So when I register in Arabic class, in order to learn Arabic language, that is called formal training. Because formal training actually is a structured, plan systematic, where you have to follow the structure, the schedule, the time, and maybe there is examination, is submission of assignment, and it is normally led by a qualified trainer. So the other alternative for me to learn Arabic language is I go for the informal one. Informal, for example, I can watch Arabic movies by looking at the subtitles in Bahasa Malaysia, maybe a little bit, after maybe 2 or 3 months, maybe I will pick up some Arabic terms. And maybe I can start listening to Arabic songs. Okay, and I mingle with those who speak Arabic. Okay, so that is informal training. So in organizations, we use both of these, formal and informal training or informal education. And in this respect, our Prophet Muhammad SAW, he also relied on informal coaching, informal mentoring in order to preach and instruct the followers in various settings, such as in Darul Arqam in Makkah, because at that time when he was in Makkah, uh, they cannot do the da'wah openly, otherwise they will be killed maybe by the mushrik in Makkah. So they have to do it in secrecy. Okay. All right, so let's move on to I am going to discuss with you two different methods used in training. Number one is traditional training method, and then next is the technology-based method. Okay, so let us find out the traditional training methods used in training, normally in organizations. Yeah, right. The first one is lecture. Lecture is the traditional, conventional, I think the most popular. Okay, it is used in school, in universities, in Islamic setting, in many ways, and it is still relevant until today, right? But of course, lecture, it can be a bit boring. Okay, so that's why it needs to be assisted with visual aids, like audio visual. The lecturer can use videos in the class, right? We can also use role play. Okay, so you see there, we can use role play in the class. I use role play in the class. We use case studies, and sometimes we also have on-the-job training, which is OJT. Okay, on-the-job training, maybe it is suitable for jobs that require hands-on. For example, for our students, engineering students, engineering students, because it requires somehow, manual dexterity, right? They have to work using machine, using tools and devices. So it's called on-the-job training. So on-the-job training is learn and work at the same time. So if you mess up, then you got scolded by the real customer, real bosses. Okay, like for our business student, our accounting students and finance students, we call it internship, right? So there are different names here that is applied for different professions. And then we also have apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is like internship, but it is for a skilled trade or jobs that require manual dexterity. Such as you want to learn how to be cooks, how to be a fashion designer, how to be mechanics, carpenter, electrician, jewelers, it requires your hands, So for this kind of jobs, the training, they call it apprenticeship. And we also have simulations. Okay, simulations actually is the replication of the reality in the job. For example, when we want to train cabin crew in Air Asia or in Malaysia Airlines, for example, yeah, or in Emirates. So, how to train the cabin crew so that they can serve the passengers on board. So one is, of course, they have to attend lectures, okay, where they will learn all the terms, all the rules and regulations. It's all in theory, but they must also learn by doing. All right, so it's called simulation. Simulation is to replicate, the aircraft. So you will see they learn in a place where the setting as if they are in a real cabin. So there are customers, and then they have to push the cart, and then they have to learn how to greet the customers, not customers, it's the passengers, yeah. So that is simulation. Simulations is also very popular for jobs like pilot, in military job, police, firemen, even the surgeons, right? People, doctors who have to learn how to operate the hearts, for example. Okay, and there are many more, right? So let us move on to the next one, technology-based method used in training. So today, especially after COVID, there's a lot of technology-based methods used in the classroom, in the workplace, because today people, they are always on the go, and people, they easily get bored, when they are only using one method in order to learn something. And today, people, they are diverse, they are slow learner, fast learner. They are people who like to listen to something, So because of this, in trainings, there are many kinds of devices that are used in order to deliver the lesson. For example, e-learning. Okay, e-learning is using online learning. Or webcast. Webcast is maybe like what we are having now in Zoom, Gmeet, or MS Team. We also have podcast. Podcast is becoming more popular today, especially among our Gen Z. You know, the generation, this Z generation, they like to uh, listen to interviews. You know, like during my time when I was younger, I normally listen to radio. Okay, but today radio is not it's not popular anymore among the Gen Z. So they like to watch podcasts. You know, sometimes they listen to the podcast. Okay, we also have mobile learning. Mobile learning is to learn using the mobile devices. Like I said earlier, people, they are always on the go, you know. So they don't like to sit down and listen, which is very boring and dull, right? So sometimes what they do is, sometimes when they're jogging, you know, or when they're sitting in the cafe, so they just open up the apps, and then they listen to the listen to the video, or watch the video, or listen to the audio. Okay, and then we also have many, like distance learning, social media, blogs, micro blogs, MOOCs, just name it. Okay, we have it. But of course, in some organizations or in some universities, some of these platforms can be very, very expensive. For example, like the use of augmented reality, which is very expensive. So maybe we don't have it. Okay, but if they can afford it, then it will be very good. Okay, so next, let us discuss, training and development from Islamic perspective. Yeah, all right. So I believe that these terms, for example, like Itqan, Al-Falah, and also Ihsan, it is very, very relevant for any kinds of a discipline. So for training and development also, we use these concepts. You know, for example, number one is here is Itqan. Itqan here is the consciousness of self improvement. It means that we always want to do to our level best. Okay, so a good person or a good employee, they don't want to be just an average employee. We want to be more than average employee. Okay, so that's normal. All right. Okay, for example, I give you an example of a gardener. Okay, like in our university, we have gardeners. That's why our university is very beautiful. Now we have the flora and fauna. So we have our gardeners, and these gardeners, they all have different level of econ. Now, some gardeners, they are very, very good, that they always want to be better gardener. So what is the difference between poor gardener and good gardener? Okay, okay, for a poor gardener that doesn't have this econ, they said, as long as I go to work, as long as I do my job, it will be sufficient. Okay, but the person who want to be a better gardener or good gardener, they want to learn more how to be a good gardener. For example, if they want to make sure that the plants growing healthily, then they will use the right fertilizer, they will use pesticide and insecticides, and they will use certain methods in order to make the flower grow healthily, beautifully. So how to do that? They learn. How do they learn? Different ways. Maybe they attend courses. Maybe they go to a seminar. Maybe they attend workshop. Or maybe they go to YouTubes and learn. They go to TikToks and learn how to be a better gardener. So here, training and development here, it depends on what kind of person you are. Okay, all right. But of course, as an organization, you want the best employees always, right? Okay, and then next is Al-Falah. Al-Falah here is the where we human beings, we always want to be perfect. We want to be successful. Okay, not just good. We want to be successful. Successful means that we want to achieve KPI, key performance indicator, right? Whatever that our boss said, we must make sure we achieve it, or sometimes we go beyond it. All right. Okay. So, for example, in business, people want to make a lot of profit. They want to achieve the highest level of sales or revenue. However, sometimes, uh, I think you know we can relate this. Yeah. Sometimes some businessmen, they can be very manipulative, that they use sometimes they scam people, you know. All right. There are many cases of, people who are very intelligent. So they scam people. All right. And these people, they are Muslims. But because they want to be successful, so they use the unethical way or ways that is not Sharia compliant. Okay. All right. So these people, they are intelligent, but they don't have the iman. Right. So in training, we want our employees to learn to be successful, to be better, but with iman. So that at the end of the day, we must please Allah. And it doesn't matter if we make a lot of money, but if it is haram, then it doesn't mean anything to us as a Muslim, right? So also like in Malaysia, like I think a few weeks back, we have this an incident where a very famous businessman who is a celebrity, he came up with like a gimmick, a gimmick where husband and wife, they were fighting in the supermarket. So the husband throw the food, on the floor, and we thought that, oh, that is real. So people find out where did that happen, and then we go, oh, it happened here in the supermarket, and then after that we find out, oh, actually it's just a gimmick. It's like a promotion that the employer, that the owner do in order to promote the workplace. So that is not right, right? So that is the and the person is a Muslim. So being a Muslim, it's not right to do that, right? Okay. Next is ihsan. All right. So I give you here some example. For example, about the Japanese management, they're not Muslim, but they are very ethical people. All right. They are very professional. They live to work, and they always seek for perfection, attention to detail. They want everything to be done perfectly. And they sometimes, spend a lot of time, working. But of course, we as Muslims, we have this iman, that whatever that we do, we must make sure that it is for Allah, right? Okay, so ihsan, number is ihsan is like ikhlas, being sincere. Well, for us to do things because we do it for Allah, right? But uh, when you hire people, when you hire your employees, when you expect them to be able to perform the job with ihsan, means that you want the employees to perform the job honestly, sincerely. Sometimes you need them to work during the weekend, maybe at night, and maybe you don't get to pay them, so you need the ihsan. Okay, all right. So it's not easy, to have employees who are willing to do that, but maybe as the employer, in order to instill that kind of spirit in our employees, maybe you can come up with some kind of program, like maybe bonding program, right? So this program will be able to make the employees love the job, love the company even more, right? Okay, so these are the basic dimensions in training and development. Okay, yeah. Whatever that I get actually is from the research that I do, from the articles, from the books that I read, about. Okay, right. So when we want to conduct a training or development program, always remember these basic dimensions. Number one is tarbiyah, ta'lib, also ta'lib. What is tarbiyah? Tarbiyah is the process of nurturing, developing, and growing. So this tarbiyah actually is almost similar to development just now. Remember, earlier I talked about training versus development. So development here is about nurturing, developing people so that they can grow, so that they can be promoted to the higher position, so that they can perform higher level jobs. Okay, so always, when we work in an organization, uh, employees, they do not expect to stay in the same position forever until they retire. No, employees, they want to be promoted also, right? They want to grow. They want to grow their career. So, because they need to climb up the career ladder. So that's why tarbiyah should be there. For example, for you to get promoted to manager or to managing director position, for example, it doesn't take 1 year only. Maybe it takes 5 years or maybe 10 years. So within that time, from 1 to 10 years, tarbiyah is very important. That even though you are still very young, but you have the talent or potential to be promoted to that position. So that's why the company must send you to development programs so that the employee can pick up skill to be a good leader, good manager, good supervisor, so that you can plan for the company, you know, right? So like our Prophet Muhammad SAW, so he was appointed as our Rasulullah at the age of 40 years old. Okay, not 10 years old, not 20 years old, it's 40 years old. So what happened before he was 40 years old? That is, the process of nurturing, developing, growing the skill. And when he reached the age of 40, then he was ready to be appointed as Rasulullah, right? So ta'dib is it comes from the word adab. Adab means that whenever you want to teach people with the skill, abilities or knowledge, adab is very important. Adab here is not only for the students to learn adab, the teacher also must have the adab. There are maybe teachers who don't have the adab. Okay, so that's too bad, right? So that's why we lecturers, we learn to be good murabbi, where we are not always the best. So we also have to set the good example. Yeah, 10 minutes left. Okay, all right. And then we also have ta'lim. Ta'lim here is the process of teaching, educating people, right? Next is, okay, transfer of training. Okay, I have talked about this earlier. Transfer of training is when we apply what we learn during the training, for example, the skill, the knowledge that we learn during the training, we apply it into practice in the workplace. Okay? Next here, okay, this is our last one, yeah. Four distinctive methods commonly used with adult learners in Islam. Okay, so there are four distinctive methods. Number one is communication and discursive approach. Okay, this approach, because we are talking about adult learners, they also have their own experience. They know about things that they learn. Maybe they have job experience. So, this one actually is allowing the students to have interaction with the teachers. Okay, it's not just the teacher give the knowledge, but there must be two-way communication. Yeah, because we need to make sure that our instruction material is suitable for people who of different age group, qualification, experience. For example, when I teach my undergraduate student, the approach is different from the approach that I use when I teach the master student. Okay. So same goes to our Prophet Muhammad, for example. Our Prophet Muhammad, during his time, he had to deal with people from different categories, with the companions who love him, with his family members who love him, with his wives, with the children, with the mushrik, with the non-Muslim, with the elderly people. So with all these different people, when he want to convey the da'wah, he used different methods because people will ask him back the questions, so he must be able to make the da'wah more discursive, right? Next is, okay, halaqah of the circle, right? So this is actually very popular among the Japanese companies, such as in Toyota. They have quality circles. So these circles actually in Japan, they are used by having employees, a small group of employees. They voluntarily meet after work in order to discuss about the problems at work and why the problem happened, how to make it better, how to solve it. So they will share knowledge. So this is also applicable to us. So like us as Muslims, we have group of students in the mosque, in the masjid, after salat. They don't go back. Instead, they will break into circles, and then there will be one person who will lead the small team, and then they will discuss. And then there is time where they share knowledge about salat, about fasting, about anything. Right. And then next is the probationary appointment. Okay, probationary appointment here, it's when an employee is hired but put on probation, because the employee need to be tested first whether the person is able to perform the job as expected. So it's probationary. All right. So when they do well at the job, they will be hired as permanent, maybe. But if they fail, then too bad, they will be dismissed. So this is also common, in organizations. And next is the last one is the apprenticeship. Okay, apprenticeship here is for the students to learn from the people who are qualified, who are expert in the area. So for example, for you to be a good cook, you must learn from a chef who will teach you, guide you, and show you how to slice, how to chop, how to cut, how to peel, how to saute, for example. So it requires a lot of observation, you're not just learning the theory, you need to watch how the expert perform the job. So it takes time. So the Prophet Muhammad SAW, he also played the role as the murabbi. Okay, this one I learned from our Professor Dr. Suhaimi. He shared with me what he learned from the event that he attended yesterday. He learned from our IIM rector, Professor Emeritus Dr. Usman Al-Baqarah. So he shared with me that as a lecturer, we play the role as a murabbi. Okay, so as a murabbi, we shape the hearts and the minds of the students. So our Prophet Muhammad also did that. In order to shape the heart and the minds of the companions, he it's not just based on what he say, but he also do things, based on what he do, how he eats, how he talk with people. So by observation. So this kind of learning is a long time for people to pick up. And many prominent Muslim scholars also, they spend many years, 10 years, 15 years in order to study under renowned ulama that were referred as their mentors. So I think I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nurita. I think we're perfectly on time. We still have 5 minutes to have some questions. There is one question I can see in the chat box. The brother writes that, please, if an employee is weak, he cannot stay longer hours at a task meet. Does it mean that he is not effective? And what can we do in that situation?
Okay, Dr. Syed Ahmad, can you speak louder? Sorry,
Is
yeah.
it okay now? Is it okay?
Yes.
So the question is, the brother mentions, if an employee is weak, he cannot stay longer hours at a task. Does it mean that he is not effective? And what can we do in that situation?
Okay. That depends on the type of job. Yeah, I know that some employee, they have to be at the place at that time in order to perform the job. For example, if you are working as a bank teller, where the counter open from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock, you have to be there. You cannot go out. If you go out, then the counter has to be closed. So it's too bad that if you're performing that kind of job, then you have to be there. All right. So it's not like other jobs where it's a bit flexible. For example, if let's say you work maybe, for example, let's say you are a lecturer, right? Sometimes it happened to me too. And I'm supposed to be in the class for 1 hour and 20 minutes, but it's too bad that there is a meeting that need me to attend. And if I don't attend the meeting will not be able to conclude. So I have to ask the student to forgive me and excuse me. So I have to go. But I have to ask the permission from the students because the students have the right, for me to be there. So it depends on the job actually, okay? And there are also times where you have to leave job early. For example, you need to attend an important event. But if you want to go early and you get permission from the boss and you are not going to uh, disappoint anyone, then I think it's okay for you to leave early. But there are times that we cannot leave early because we have to be there, right? For example, like nurses, they have to be there. So it depends on the job. That's my answer.
Well, thank you very much. I don't see any more questions, but there's a lot of appreciation for your lecture, Dr. Nurita. Alhamdulillah. I think, is there any question? You can please write. We still have a couple of minutes. All right, I think so that we don't have any question, but thank you very much, Dr. Nurita, for sharing the pearls of wisdom and summing up an enormous amount of knowledge in such a short time. I see that the beauty of these sessions organized by IIIT is that each speaker has embedded his or her lecture deeply grounded in the Islamic values. And I tell you that Dr. Nurita is one of my mentors. So was Dr. Izwan. Thank you very much, Dr. Nurita.
Yeah, most welcome.
So now we have the next and the last speaker today, one of the wonderful lecturers we have at Department of Business Administration is Dr. Arbaiah bin Abdul Razak, who will be speaking on innovation and entrepreneurship in Islamic tradition. A brief profile of Dr. Arbaiah. Let me just have the brief profile of Dr. Arbaiah and share with you. Dr. Arbaiah has been a lecturer at the Department of Business Administration, International Islamic University, Malaysia since September 2022. She holds a PhD in Innovation Management from the University of Southern Queensland, Australia, in 2016, a master's degree in Information Technology from University UKM, and a bachelor's degree in Biomedical Science from University of Malaya. The diverse academic background equips her with versatile knowledge that can be applied across various professional fields. And with over 20 years of working experience spanning on both public and private sectors, including roles as a medical technologist in hospitals, administrative officer in ministries and universities, and system analyst in the multinational IT company, she brings a wealth of multifaceted experience to her current role. So I welcome Dr. Arbaiah. So over to you, Dr. Arbaiah, on your topic.
Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Dr. Said, for the introduction. Okay, so I'd like to share my slide. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Okay, so today my topic is on innovation from an Islamic perspective. I just would like to highlight based on the first presenter just now, Dr. Ridwan, and then after that, Dr. Arfifah, and just now, Dr. Nurita. Out of these three sharings, I myself, the takeaway message that I can take for today is that it's all about knowledge. So same goes with my topic, which is on innovation. It has also to do with knowledge. Okay, so with this lecture, I hope that by the end of this topic, something that I'd like to share with all of you in terms of the innovation, because in business, innovation is central to ensure our sustainability, to ensure our success. We need to innovate. So there are some of the key Islamic principles why we need to encourage innovation, why we need to innovate. And then here, number 3, I'd like to share some of the, actually one of the approach to innovation. There are actually many approach or methods or ways to innovation, but purposely for this sharing, I'd like to share the design thinking approach, something that I feel connect me, that I feel very comfortable to deal with. And then number 4, to recognize some of the challenges in Islamic innovation. And finally, I'd like to share some of the practical tips for Islamic innovation. As I myself used to be a scientist, a technologist, and now I am a social scientist, every one of us actually doing this, okay, whether we realize it or not. Not necessarily we have to invent a rocket or an aeroplane whatsoever, but every day in our daily life, actually, we deal with this innovation. So what is innovation? I just would like to give a very common or general definition about innovation. Innovation is actually a process. It is actually a process to create and implement new ideas, methods, or products. So my lecture, the context of my lecture is in the business context. Okay, the keyword here is about newness. So when we relate newness in a business, there are many things actually. It is either newness in terms of the product itself, you come up with a new product, or in a service, in the technology, in the method, or even in a new customer. When I say about new customer, meaning that if let's say your business, you are doing business for all this while in Malaysia, and then suddenly you've got a customer in other parts of the world, okay, in Indonesia, for example, or in the West. So for you, okay, for you as a business owner, okay, this is a newness to your business. So this is the definition, the basic definition for innovation, because I still remember last time when I teach my social science student, the art student, the business student. The first time when I asked them about innovation, they always, refer to something with the engineering, with the medical science, the pure science. But actually, it is not. Okay, it's not only about the rocket science. It's not only about the medical technology breakthrough. We as a business, even though we introduce a small process in our company that is already considered as a newness, that is already considered innovation, but in the context of our business. Okay, so this is the basic or the common definition for innovation for everyone, as simple as creating and implementing new ideas, methods, or product or services. So there are actually many phases in innovation, but I just would like to give two categorization here. One is about the invention, and then one is innovation. So invention is actually when we create something new, and that's it. But then innovation is when we turn the new idea into a viable product, get it into the market, and people use it, people acquire it. So that's why last time when I did my research, I still remember my mentor told me that at least as an academic, Arbaiah, once you're done with your research, you need to apply something. So maybe our research is more on the theoretical base, but at least we can share our knowledge. We can share our knowledge in terms of the publication, for example. Okay, unlike if we are really doing an applied research, okay, then of course, once we invent something new, then we need to turn it into something that will be viable or applicable to the others. Okay, so this is the two things, the invention and also the innovation. And then here, there is also another terms, okay, the another terms when we are talking about innovation process. Okay, there are also another terms when people talking about exploration, exploitation, and diffusion. This is very much related in the business context. Okay, most of the time we explore new idea for our product development, for our service offering. So this is the stage whereby we do a lots of exploration out there through reading, through our knowledge, through our experience. And then once we search for the idea, of course, we will do the research and development. We do a lot of, just like what Dr. Nurita said just now, there are many methods for training. Same goes with innovation. There are many methods for innovation. You can do research, you can do a brainstorming, okay, you can even do observation. So this is the stage of exploration. So once we've got the idea, then we tend to exploit. Okay, if in research, usually we have the terms adopt and adapt. Okay, when we've got some idea out there, then we can adapt. Okay, we can exploit it to produce a new invention that will be aligned with our market, with our user, with our business plan. As I share with all of you, the business model canvas. Okay, the center component of the business model canvas is about the value proposition. So yes, maybe you see an existing product, for example, a handphone. So how can we added value to the handphone? Okay, so this is actually how the way how we can trigger the innovative thinking in ourselves. Okay, so once we explore the idea out there and then we exploit. And what is more important is about the diffusion. If we have a very good invention, but it is only lying down on our shelf in our shop, for example, or in our lab, scientific lab, with nobody using it. So in my opinion, that is not considered as a successful innovation. Okay, innovation need to be taken up, okay, by the market, by the customer, and then we can spread the values or the benefits of the innovation with the others. So these are basically some of the terms when we talk about innovation, some of the terms that sometimes might be scare people, Okay, but the words here might look like so very bombastic, but then actually, if we go back to the simple or the general definition of innovation just now, as long as it has the element of a newness, okay, and then the newness is not necessarily new to the world, okay, it can be to your business world, your own company. Okay, so this is I hope that everyone will have the same idea, the same page about innovation, so that nobody is afraid, oh, I'm not that good, I don't have any expertise, I'm still junior or something like that. Okay, but still, as long as we introduce something that is new, okay, to our company, to our businesses, then we can call ourselves as innovator. Okay, just like in the organization, the public organization, for example, in the government. Okay, we are non-profit organization, but there are many work processes. Okay, for example, from a manual writing form and everything, we can convert into a digital form, a Google form. So that is already element of newness in our work process. Okay, so next is here, I just would like to highlight some of the key differences. I'm also learning, I'm still learning because for the past 20 more years in the workplace, whereby I'm not working in the Islamic organization. I used to work in a non-Islamic organization, but this is something that I myself would like to remind myself, okay, and also the others, that there are some key differences when we are talking about innovation from the Islamic and versus the contemporary perspective. Okay, number one, for example, here, the dual perspective of innovation. Okay, so in Islam, we are not only talking about the success and the failure. Okay, we are also talking about the halal and haram, the permissible and also the prohibited. Okay, so this is something that I myself, if I reflect, okay, if I reflect with my work to my work experience last time in the hospital and everything. So yes, last time we only consider whether the surgery success or whether the surgery failed. Okay, but then what is more important actually the effort of the doctors and the nurses, the scientists to save the patient's life. So are we using all the resources halal or okay, so that's why in Islamic innovation, the perspective is beyond the success and failure. And then number two, the source of guidance. Okay, so in innovation from the Islamic perspective, need to always be guided by the Quran and Hadith. And of course, there is also another scholarly consensus that align with the Islamic ethics and moral values, compared to mainly driven by the human reasoning or market demands or profit maximization. So this is also another key differences I myself okay, I would say that I may conclude that these are some of the differences between the Islamic innovation and contemporary innovation. If I recall last time when I did experiment in my scientific lab compared to now, then I can relate this. Okay, I can relate this because last time I did not get the source of guidance from Quran. It is all based on our scientific textbook. But for Islamic innovation, we need to go back. Okay, we need to go back to the Tawhidic epistemology, to the source of the guidance, which is the Quran and Hadith. So it will help us, it will guide us what is the purpose we are doing all this innovation. Okay, yes, we are doing all this technology development, but what is the purpose of it? Okay, and then number three, here, as I mentioned, it is about aim at the purpose is that to serve a greater good for the society. Remember last time when I told you that about what is the purpose of a business. Okay, so there are certain mindset already got twisted along the way. When we ask, even my student, when I ask them what is the purpose of business, all of them answer, majority of them answer it is for profit. Okay, but actually the primary purpose of a business is actually to solve people problems, to fulfill their needs. Secondary to that, okay, byproduct to that, we got the profit. So that's why the purpose of innovation, okay, in Islam is to serve the greater good of the society, to ensure the benefits that is in line with the Islamic principle. Okay, justice, ethics, well-being. Okay, compared to mainly, okay, if contemporary innovation, they are only mainly aimed at individual or corporate gain only. Okay, so these are some of the differences, and then continue. Okay, number four is about the ethical boundaries. So in Islamic innovation, we have a very strong emphasis on the permissibility of the new ideas. Okay, coming back to the Shariah compliance, the halal and haram. Okay, converse to the primary concern is often about the efficiency and effectiveness, about the economic feasibility. So then the ethics will become secondary. But then in Islamic innovation, the primary need to be always ethical and follow the ethics, the principal ethics, and the Islamic ethics. And then number 5 is about the acceptance of change. Okay, so change, yes, everyone not very comfortable with change. But then if it has a purpose to serve the public interest, the maslahah, the benefit to the ummah, okay, and then it is aligned with the Islamic values, then in my opinion, it is permissible. Okay, it is permissible compared to the more flexible and limitation or liberal, where everything can be innovated. Okay, so for us as a Muslim innovator, we are not ordinary innovator, we are Muslim innovator. We need to ensure that whatever change, okay, whatever the newness that we would like to introduce into our organization, into our company, into our business, need to be in line with the Islamic principles. And then here, of course, number 6 is about the scope of innovation. I am no expert in Islamic studies, so that's why I myself also need to be very careful when we are talking about innovation, because here I highlight that it need to be primarily in the worldly affairs, technology, finance, medicine. But for religious innovation, I have to admit that I am myself no expert in this matter, and then I will let this, okay, for all the Islamic scholars to discuss further. Okay, so that's why in innovation, I feel comfortable when I reflect or recall my experience in the scientific lab, in my technology lab last time. So whatever we are doing, especially in the hospital, whatever that we are doing, okay, the things, the newness, the information system, the technology that we introduce in the hospital, it's always about the purpose to save patient lives, okay, to save the people's life. So we dare not to touch into the religion, into the spiritual, the ritual of the religious. So even this, if we have a problem, for example, if a patient, okay, a patient is a bedridden and he or she would like to perform the solah, the prayer. So I myself cannot give the hukum or the fiqh how to perform. So we need to consult the expert. Okay, so we dare not to create something. Yes, it is in our context, meaning that in the hospital context, but we dare not. Okay, we don't go beyond that, beyond our expertise. So these 6 differences is something that I would like to share with the others based on my studies, based on my reading. So these are some of the key differences between the Islamic and also the contemporary innovation. Okay, so now I would like to move on to the Islamic view on innovation. If earlier on it's all about the general definition on innovation, what is the purpose, the scope and everything compared to the contemporary innovation. So from the Islamic view on innovation, these are some of the terms that refer to innovation. Islah, tajdid, ijtihad and bid'ah. Okay, so all this word is, to be honest, it is very heavy for me actually to introduce all these words, especially the word bid'ah. So based on my readings, okay, based on my readings on the Islamic articles, it is sufficient for me at this moment, okay, to refer the word innovation to ijtihad. Because as I said, this is something that is beyond my knowledge. Okay, I'm not expert in Islamic studies. So based on my reading, ijtihad is something that is more closely related to innovation. If you would like to really discuss, okay, what is the terms, okay, what is the terms that is more suitable to refer to innovation. So ijtihad is actually, yes, in the if we are talking about in the context of Islam, it is very advanced knowledge. There are many I would say only the expert can talk about it, but then in my context is in the business context. Okay, ijtihad in the business context is something that the effort, okay, the effort to make an informed decision, okay, and then by interpreting the Quran and Hadith in addressing a new issues, okay, in the new issues, okay. So that's why I highlighted here ijtihad. I dare not to go to discuss about the bid'ah. I myself not that knowledgeable in this knowledge, and then focus on worldly innovation. what is permissible. Okay, that is in line in the Islamic values, but not in the religious innovation. Okay, so this one is strictly regulated, just like Dr. Arfifah mentioned earlier on about our deen. It is already perfect. So that's why I myself would like to focus innovation in the business context. Okay, in the business context, and it is on the worldly matters. Okay, so in Islam, we also the Islam also emphasis on knowledge. So this is the root. Okay, so this is the center of innovation, the pursuit of knowledge. Okay, knowledge is very much central to innovation. Okay, and then we as a human being, we have the responsibility to improve the world. Okay, and then promote knowledge. Just now, either through exploration or through acquisition or exploitation and application. Okay, for the society benefit, for the maslahah of everyone. So innovation based on the hadith, okay, there are some of the hadiths that we can relate, okay, not specifically to the word ijtihad, but then about seeking knowledge. Okay, as Prophet Muhammad says that seeking knowledge is an obligation upon every Muslim. And then Prophet Muhammad once says that it also he also encouraged us to have a progress, to have a new development in the worldly and also religious matter. Okay, that's why we have all our Islamic scholars to do all the to come up with all the new fiqh and everything. Okay, so there is a hadith. Okay, there is hadith reported by Muaz, for example, here when Prophet asked the Sahaba, "How do you decide on things?" And then Muaz said that I decide by the law of Allah. Next, if the knowledge, the information is not in the book of Allah, and he will decide based on the Sunnah of the Prophet. And then if it is not in the Sunnah, Muaz replied that I swear by my opinion. And then the Prophet said that praise to be Allah who has guided the Prophet. So here, yesterday I just heard a lecture about all this bid'ah, all this ijtihad and everything. So that's why I need to be very, very careful to really talk the innovation from or ijtihad from the point of in the context of the business. In my opinion, as long as we strictly follow the Shariah, we strictly maintain our niat. Okay, the purpose of our innovation is for to seek Allah blessings, to help the people, to save patients' life, for example, and then of course comply to all the halal and haram, the Sharia compliant, and inshallah, okay, inshallah, we are in a good guidance. Okay, we are in a good path. Okay, so innovative Islamic scholars, okay, in the worldly matters is very much encouraged actually. It is beneficial, it's contribute to all the scientific and technology advancement. So even during the Prophet time, okay, even during the Caliphate era, many scholars actually are famous for their innovation. So these are actually our treasure, the Islamic treasure actually. Al-Warizmi, for example, Ibn Sina, even our Prophet Muhammad. Okay, he was an innovation. Okay, yes, of course, he got the ideas from the others, but then he introduced the Madinah Charter, okay, the constitution of the Madinah, even though it is in terms of the policy, but still our Prophet introduced a new policy to the country, to Madinah, for example. Okay, so these are considered as an innovator. Okay, there are a lot of innovators in our Muslim world. Okay, in the modern era, if in Malaysia, for example, specifically we have our professor, our late Professor Diraja, our royal Professor Waziz, who established Tabung Haji, for example. This is for finance, okay, saving corporation, and we also have our brothers Irwan, for example, in Singapore, who developed the Muslim Pro application. Okay, the kind of application that we used to, I myself use today, okay, in terms of the prayer time, the Quran, and many other things. Okay, so this is considered as a Muslim innovators. Okay, so the role of Islam in Malaysia, actually, it is a fardu kifayah. Okay, it is a fardu kifayah collective duty, right? It is actually an essential tool for societal betterment. Okay, otherwise we are not progressing to anywhere. So as a Muslim, we need to be success, not just in this world, but also in the hereafter. Okay, so that's why we need to fulfill. Okay, we need to fulfill our social needs and also responsibility, but at the same time not undermine the Sharia principles. So this is something that in myself, okay, I used to be a scientist before, as I said, okay, I myself, this is something that is really different. Last time, maybe when I do my research or I experiment in the lab, I never thought about this. But now, since I know about this knowledge, now everything what I do nowadays, even though if I would like to share this kind of slide with my brothers and sisters, yes, I would like to find the original. Okay, the original, for example, the ijtihad. What is the original word? Maybe in the Quran there is no explicit word ijtihad, but the root words for ijtihad is jihad, jim ha dal. So there are many words in jihad in Quran. So this is the source of the epistemology, the source of knowledge that we can always learn from, and then we can apply it to our current context or in our business context. Okay, so Islamic principle also encourage innovation, as I mentioned earlier on, is about ijtihad. And then also there is also another thing about the istihsan, okay, to consider something that is good, and then maslahah. So these are the terms or the principles that can support the development of any innovative solution. So as a scientist, whether you are a social scientist or you are a pure scientist, okay, so every time when we would like to do, okay, when we like to, when we face a new problem or a new needs, okay, whenever we would like to create a new idea, to invent a new idea, so we need to always consider, okay, all these principles so that it will guide us to conduct a very ethical and a very beneficial innovation. All right, so intellectual, this one, when we are talking about knowledge, yes, everyone will have their own knowledge, everyone will have their own interpretation. Okay, so the Quran really emphasizes about seeking new knowledge, understand the universe, understand the problem in the universe, the historical contribution of Islamic scholars. And here, recognize the right freedom of thought and expression, but we are guided. Okay, we have our in the process that we would like to propagate, or we would like to disseminate the values, the truths, and the knowledge to the others. We need always to come back to the original Islamic principle. Okay, always to come back to the Islamic principle. As I mentioned earlier on, it's not only about the success and failure. We need to go back to the halal and haram. Okay, the scope and the purpose. Okay, so role of technology. Okay, so this is something to do with the technology. Technology is actually an artifact whereby we embed our knowledge into it. Okay, just like this PowerPoint slide. This is one of a technology actually. Okay, this is one of invention, and this is also someone create this PowerPoint last time, and then this is also an innovation. Why? Because we use this PowerPoint. Okay, and using this tool, using this innovation, the PowerPoint innovation, we embed our knowledge into the PowerPoint. Okay, so this is actually what it means by technology. Okay, so this is not only about all those engineering, all those technical things. No, technology is actually an artifact whereby we embed the knowledge into it. Okay, so modern technology, okay, we need to harmonize here whatever the new technology that we create. Okay, whatever the new artifact, whatever the new product, whatever the new services that we create nowadays, we need to harmonize with the Islamic values. So that's why nowadays, I know that the thing now is about the AI, okay, about the artificial intelligence. But then recently also there is a news about the Microsoft company whereby they lay off the people or the team who are developing the AI. So why this happened? So we start to question why this happened. Okay, so that's why it requires us to think back why these people create all this technology, why these people create the AI, if we cannot harmonize with the Islamic values. Okay, so technology is actually a tools. Okay, tools to understand the world with the goal to enhance the human dignity, and then of course at the end of the day, to promote the benefits to the others and avoid the harms. Okay, so this is actually when we have a lot of technology nowadays surrounding us, we cannot run away from it. We cannot avoid it. We cannot, especially nowadays in the 21st century, we cannot live without a technology. Okay, so they are surrounding us. But what is more important is that what is the purpose we are using all this technology, and how we use the technology is more important. Okay, so it's just like a wave. Okay, we need to know how to navigate this wave carefully, using with all the Quran and the Sunnah as our main guidance. Okay, so innovation is also a very important, okay, in our society, in our ummah, because it helps us to make changes, as I mentioned earlier on, and then it also help our society to improve, to progress. Okay, so this is how innovation actually can connect. Okay, can connect between the knowledge and also the technology, with the purpose to improve the society for a betterment. Okay, to improve the society for the betterment. So there are many types of innovation actually in Islam. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, here in the business context is all more worldly innovation, whatever technology, whatever the product and services, okay, the process that we introduce in our business, maybe it is all because of the our business objective. But then as a Muslim innovator, okay, as a Muslim innovator, we need to always always balance, okay, balance between the faith and also the wealth. Okay, so we are allowed to get more wealth, but then we also need to remember that our responsible to the society. Okay, so in terms of religious innovation, all right, the deen is not permissible. Of course, we cannot create something that is core belief, in our akidah. Okay, as the Quran already mentioned, that Allah said that we already perfect your religion. Okay, but yes, there are something, okay, that in our day-to-day life, okay, maybe in the Quran never mentioned about the AI, but then that's why we have all our Muslim scholars who help us to come up with all the fiqh, okay, with all the laws on how to navigate with all these worldly things. Okay, so these are some of the examples, even that I found in the website, saying that about the Muslim invention that shaped the modern world. Okay, so this is website that I came across last time, but I like to highlight that this is by the CNN. Okay, so something that I myself, okay, to be honest, I myself to be honest, realize that, oh, something about the coffee, something about the okay, I just would like to retrieve the website. Okay, the articles published in 2010. Yes, I know it is about 15 years ago. Okay, but then nevertheless, okay, the website highlighted about the invention, okay, the invention that has changed, okay, that has shaped the modern world. Okay, in this article, it says there are many things actually. Okay, there are many things that is invented by our Muslim, okay, by our Muslim brothers and sisters. Okay, so let me see whether I can share the website here. Okay. So this is Muslim invention that shaped the modern world. So there is a website called 101 Invention. Okay, a book celebrating the forgotten history of 100 years of Muslim heritage. So there are many things actually. Okay, there are many things. Okay, based on I know that this is a quite old information. Okay, but then here some of the top outstanding Muslim invention. Okay, for example, surgery. Okay, of course, we cannot deny that Ibn Sina, okay, one of the Muslim scholar that is expert in medical, as a biomedical student. We last time, yes, we mentioned about this, but then because I'm studying in a non-Islamic oriented university, and because of that, we don't really scrutinize, okay, the contribution of Indusina in our study. But nevertheless, we appreciate him. Okay, so he is one of the top innovator in the surgery, for example. And then we have also coffee, for example. Okay, here everyone drinks coffee nowadays. That is our lifestyle nowadays. But then coffee was first brewed in Yemen, for example, in the 9th century. Okay, the flying machine. Okay, the university. So these are all our germs. Okay, in our Muslim world. So if last time, okay, we can champion in innovation. So that's why nowadays we need to educate. We need to educate our young leader, okay, young leader in business, especially our community leader, our professional leader, okay, so that they can bring back all this success, okay, for the worldly matters, okay, to innovate. Okay, we need to encourage them. Okay, we need to encourage them to come up with all these ideas so that we can help to provide the benefit to the all maslahah. Okay, so algebra, optics, even music, toothbrush, the crank, hospitals. So all these are some of the invention, okay, that is created by our Muslim scholars. Okay, so I'd like to go back to our slide just now. I'd like to continue. So this is the example of the successful Islamic innovation. So now next, I would like to share with all of you about design thinking because there are actually many ways on how to innovate. We can do experiment in the lab, we can do an observation, or we can also do get the idea from the customer feedback, and there are many approach actually to innovation. Okay, to innovation. So this is one of the approach that I myself prefer to use it and also share with my other student, my fellow student, and my colleagues. It is about the design thinking approach. Okay, design thinking approach is a approach. Why the reason I chose this approach is that it is a very human-centered design. Okay, last time when we innovate mainly to solve the problems, or yes, of course, but then in business, most of the time when we innovate, when we create a new thing, it is to capture the market. Okay, to capture the market, to increase our sales, to increase our profit. Okay, so that's why when we use this method, at least it always at the back of our mind when we try to introduce a new thing, when we would like to introduce innovation in our business or in our company. So the people, the human will be the center of our innovation. So there are an overlapping rules between the human, the technology, and the business. Okay, so in the overlapping circle here, you can see this is where innovation lies. Okay, where all the knowledge, the information lies. Okay, using with all the innovation, knowledge and with the knowledge and everything, the technology. So this is the interrelationship between the business and also the technology and human. Okay, so we need to innovate. So this is the process basically about the design thinking. As I said, I choose design thinking approach because it emphasizes about building empathy for users. Okay, so these are the diagram in the center. Okay, as you can see here, it started by empathize, by understanding the people, meaning that whenever we would like to introduce a new thing in our business, in a new thing in our organization or in our market, we always need to think about, always need to understand the people. Why we need to create this one? It is because of the people. Okay, so we need to empathize, and then we need to, of course, then we have to brainstorm our idea. Okay, we brainstorm our idea, we refine, and then we come up with a prototype, then we test and we see whether all this process again will again suit with our people. Okay, so here I would like to go to the specific step by step of the design thinking process. This is actually from the Western perspective about the diagram, but then we can always relate to the Islamic perspective. Okay, the key principle of the design thinking process is about the human-centered. It is iterative. Okay, it need to be meaning that it is not a linear cycle. Okay, you need to always repeat and repeat again until the process, the innovation will meet the people's problem. Okay, will solve the people's problem. And then it is actually a modern method, but then it is a very holistic. And it also emphasizes about the ethical responsibility and continuous improvement. Okay, so step number one, okay, if we refer to this one, we can see that it starts from empathize. Okay, it starts from empathize here. When you innovate using the design thinking process, you need to start with empathy and compassion. Compassion. So this is the foundation of human-centered design. Okay, so when we are talking about empathy, actually we can relate with one of the verse. It says that we have sent you. Okay, so accept as a mercy to the world, meaning that last time when our prophet sent down to us, actually to bring the rahmat. Okay, rahmatan di alamin to everyone. So through him, okay, through him we learn a lot on how to navigate our world. So every time when our prophet would like to introduce a new hukum, for example, a new fiqh, he always think about the people, about the followers, about the companion, about the sahabat. Okay, so this is the thing that we can also correlate with the design thinking approach. Whenever we would like to innovate, we always need to be empathized. We need to always compassion towards our customer, towards our people, towards the end user who's going to use our technology, who's going to use the innovation. So it's not about the profits. It's not about the sales only. Okay, and then step number two is about the ideation and the creativity. Okay, once we understand the people, we understand the customer, we empathize their problem, we empathize with their problem, then we need to create the idea. So here is the step here is about fostering innovation that is purposeful, and also ethical and beneficial. Okay, so this is where we implement again about the ijtihad. This is our effort. Okay, our physical effort, our mental effort about ijtihad on how to solve the people's problem. First, we already know that the customer has a problem, has needs. So now the second step is that we need to implement our ijtihad using all the knowledge that we have in our head on how to come up with a new idea, new invention, new innovation to foster this one so that at the end of the day, it will be purposeful and ethical to the people. Once we've got the idea, okay, then it comes to the stage whereby we start to develop the product, develop the service. Okay, that's why here there is another step. We call it as prototyping. So prototyping is something that is very common in the technical world, whereby we come up, okay, the proof of concept of our ideas. Okay, so here the element here is about continuous improvement. Okay, same goes with Dr. Nurita just now mentioned about ihsan, about the itqan, okay, about the quality. So the first time when you invent something new, maybe there is not the product or the service is not perfect yet. So that's why we need to come up with a prototype, and then we do testing, we get the feedback from the people, the customer, and then we improve. Keep on improving the product and service and until it can meet the user's needs. Okay, so there are also a verse, okay, there are also a verse in the Quran that Allah loves those who are always act with excellence. Okay, so this is also another concept that we can relate in our daily life when we are doing something in our workplace, in our business. Okay, is this not only about business, but also same goes with those who are working in the government office, for example. We need to always improve our work process. Okay, we need to always continue for the improvement. And then number four, okay, this is also another element in the design thinking which I really like, that I feel that very suitable in our Islamic perspective is about the collaboration and community. So when we are talking about collaboration, of course, the term shura, okay, the term shura comes to our mind, and it plays a very significant role in our decision making and problem solving. Okay, so now once we've got that's why in innovation, actually, you cannot innovate alone. Okay, you need somebody in the process. Okay, okay, at least as a customer, we need we need to consult the customer. So collaboration and community, okay, very play very important roles in our decision making and problem solving. Okay, and then finally, okay, about the ethical responsibility. So whatever that we do, we need to align back with the Islamic values. First, with the niat, okay, with the when we do all this innovation, when we start to innovate, it start with the Islamic values, okay, and then towards the end, we also need to make sure that it also in line with the Islamic values. For example, not to ensure that there is no harmful to individuals or society, and also the environment. Okay, so these are the design thinking approach. Okay, this is very common actually among the technical, okay, entrepreneurship. We use this kind of process, but then along the way, along the process of innovation, we always emphasize about this concept. Okay, this concept, shura, the Islamic ethics, permissibility in terms of halal and haram, the benefit, the justice. Okay, shura is very important. Okay, Shura as well too. So if you look at the design thinking process, this is not only applicable for those who are in the scientific or in engineering world. No, we also, okay, we also can adopt this one, especially in terms of the first emphasis about the empathy. Okay, empathize and compassion towards our people, towards our customer, towards our end user. Okay, then only we start to solve the problem. Okay, start to solve the problem. So these are the rules of ethics. Okay, and then there are some challenges. No doubt there are many challenges actually in Islamic innovation. For example, the tension between maintaining the Islamic identity and embracing the modernity, lack of resources, political instability, or access to modern technologies. So that's why we have the responsibility. We, for those who are having all the knowledge, we have the responsibility to balance between the religious tradition with the modernity. Okay, so we need also to concern about the ethics in the new technology. For example, in the chat GPT. Okay, so what are the guidelines? Okay, nowadays we cannot avoid, even among in the university context, for example, um, we cannot prohibit in total our student from using all this ChatGPT. But then that's why as a teacher, we need to come up with the guideline on how to use this technology in ethical way, okay, in Islamic way. Okay, so these are some of the contemporary challenge that is going on from time to time that requires our collective, okay, our collective effort together, okay, our collective effort, our ijtihad to help to provide a betterment, okay, for our ummah. Okay, so these are some of the suggestion on how to overcome the contemporary challenges. So always need to start with a good intention. Need to always start with a good niat, and then determine what is the purpose. Okay, what is the purpose of our innovation? And then whatever that we do along the innovation process, when we do the prototyping, we do the brainstorming, when we do the testing, okay, when we are getting feedback from our customer, we need to always merge, okay, we always need to in line with the Islamic values, okay, with the Islamic values, and then we need to make sure, okay, all we are the sources, okay, the resources that we use are halal, and then we need to show to others. Okay, this is also important to highlight because sometimes people don't really understand what is the purpose of our doing. So we need also to share them, educate them, and show that whatever innovation that we that we are doing, that is in line with our the Islamic values and also benefit the society. Okay, so these are some of the practical tips. So this is near to the end of my lecture. I just would like to share some of the tips that I myself collect along the way during the process of innovation, the process of innovation that all of us, I believe, that have conducted in your business, in your organization, in your office. For example, problem, we never can get away from problem. Every day we face a problem. Okay, so every day we will face a problem. It is a matter on how we solve this problem. So do we consult the Islamic resources or not? Do we seek shura or consultation or collaborate with the scholars or expert in the field? And then we apply the ijtihad, the independent reasoning, and then ensure that we comply to the Shariah. Okay, we comply to the ethics all the time. And then we need, at the end of the day, okay, it's not end with the innovation where people use our product. It's not end there. Number 6 is also very, very important. Once people apply our technology, once people apply our innovation, we need to always monitor the impact. We always need to assess the impact. Okay, so that we can always continuously evaluate the impact, and then we can improve. Okay, we can make a betterment. What are the weaknesses? Okay, what are the weaknesses? Okay, so these are some of the practical tips for the Islamic innovation. And then a final thought, okay, a final thought based from this lecture is that innovation is in Islam is very much encouraged. It is a very vital for our societal development. But then we need to always remember that whenever we innovate, we need to innovate with empathy. Okay, and then throughout the process, we need to always continue to learn, continue to improve, and collaborate with the others, and apply the ethics principle in every decision making process, and then engage with the community so that the innovation, we can turn the invention into an innovation, and from so that we can create a greater good for the others. Okay, so I think that is all from me. When we're talking about innovation, something that is central to business to ensure our business sustainability, especially nowadays. But then are certain things when we try to create a new technology, when we like to embed, make sure that we have the knowledge. Okay, we have the knowledge whenever we do the innovation. So indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. So I think that with that, I would like to end my lecture on innovation for today's lecture. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arbaiah, and very spot on, wonderful session. Since we have some people from Nigeria and they have been commenting that it's time for Subha prayer there. So I would be just taking 2 questions which Dr. Khalid from Sunway Business School has asked. So if you can please answer a short answer to that questions. Number 1 question from Dr. Khalid is, can ethical boundaries in Islamic innovation restrict technological advancement in Muslim societies, or do they provide a necessary moral compass that contemporary innovation often overlooks?
Can ethical boundaries in Islamic innovation restrict technology advancement in Muslim society, or do they provide a necessary moral compass? Okay, as I mentioned earlier on, we as a Muslim innovator, okay, we have the key differences early on when I mentioned about the differences. Okay, so for us as a Muslim scholar, as a Muslim innovator, we have certain Shariah compliance and everything. That's why I mentioned early on, yes, of course, we have some kind of challenges nowadays, because if we follow fully the Islamic tradition, the one that is very strict tradition, if we would like to translate into our 21st century, maybe everything cannot be done. But then that's why we have the source of Tawhidic epistemology, a part of the Quran and also the Sunnah. We have also the Ijtihad and Qiyas. Okay, the lowest is the Qiyas, but the Ijtihad. So that's why we require more Islamic scholars who are not only from the Islamic background, but we also require a complementary knowledge. A complementary knowledge whereby we work together between the scientists and also the Islamic scholars, so that they will guide us during the ijtihad process. Okay, so that at the end of the day, the purpose of it, yes, we are using all the source from the Quran and the Sunnah, but then we also can come up with a solution, a new solution that is still comply to the Quran and Sunnah. So if we restrict, okay, ourselves to the purely the Islamic, we are so extreme about Islamic tradition, definitely. Okay, definitely some of the things will restrict the innovation. Okay, so that's why the moral compass here at the end of the day is always about the purpose. Okay, the niyat, whether we are doing this to seek our blessings or for what? Okay, so that is the moral compass, in my opinion. Okay, even I myself being challenged every day. Okay, so at the end of the day, I will every day I will renew my niat. Every day I will check, I will reflect. What is my moral compass today? What is the purpose I'm going to work today? Is it to seek for Allah knowledge, to seek our blessing, or what? Okay, so at least that is our moral compass that can guide us. Okay, question number 2, how can public policymakers in Muslim majority countries strike a balance between the public interest and economic efficiency when evaluating and implementing new innovation, especially in the high-stake field like AI, fintech, and biotechnology? Again, if we, the Muslim majority countries, did not come up with this new technology, the non-Muslim countries will come up with the new technologies. So if we try to play catch up here, it really will exhaust us. So in my opinion, we accept, or we receive, I would say welcome this technology openly. But then as a Muslim leader, okay, as a Muslim majority country, we need to come up with our own guidelines on how to navigate with all this technology. Okay, because in other part of the world, there are something new that is being invented by them. So we cannot play catch up with them. So what can we do is that we have to come up with our own guideline based on the Quran, based on the Sunnah, on how to navigate with this technology. Okay, so that is my answer at the moment. Is there any more question, Dr. Said?
Yeah, I think so that we can have, we are already 10 minutes above the scheduled time. So if you want to answer one more question, you can. We have, I think, one more question in the chat box. If you want to answer, it's up to you.
I think we have our brother here, Ahmad Lubis. Maybe brother Ahmad Lubis, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. So I assume this is the final question here, Dr. Said.
We have the question here in the chat box already, so it's up to you. You want to decide what it's.
I would like to hear opinion from here, Ahmad Lubis.
Sure.
Can you unmute?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah, it's interesting lecture from you, Dr. I forgot the name. Yeah, Arbaiah. Yeah, Arbaiah. The first question is what motivates you changes from the technologies to social scientists? That's interesting to know. And then as long as I know that innovations only used for the terms something for beneficial, something for things that good for people. Can we use innovation to the things to destroy, like for the military weapons to destroy other things? Yeah, and then that's my question.
Thank you very much.
Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you very much for the questions. Okay. First, about why I changed from science to social science. So, this is something that is personal, I would say. My journey. Okay, my journey when I do work. Okay, when I go to workplace, I see there is a problem that cannot be solved. Then I always think why we cannot solve this problem. So that's why I seek knowledge, further knowledge. So in other words, last time when I worked in the hospital, my hospital is a very traditional hospital whereby everything is being conducted in a manual base. When you like to register as a patient, for example, you have to fill up the form manually using pen and paper. So I always think why this hospital does not adopt the technology, the automatic registration, for example, using the Google form. This is back in 20 years ago, Dr. Ahmad Lubis. Okay, so that's why I always think how to improve the work process. So that's why I innovate in my hospital. We have a meeting, we conduct a meeting in our team, and I question why we cannot register our patient using a digital form, a digital method. Okay, so that's why I innovate. So that's why, but then because I was trained as a biomedical scientist, I don't know anything about information science and I seek knowledge. Okay, so that's why in my talk, I share that knowledge is very important if we would like to innovate. Okay, so that we will be guided. Okay, and then number two, your question is about technology that destroy the world. That is the problem. Okay, that is the problem with the contemporary innovation. When they innovate, when they create a new thing, that is not on the basis of the maslahah. Okay, when they create, they only create for their self interest. Okay, for example, the nuclear weapon. Why we have to create a nuclear weapon? Okay, maybe. Okay, this is really, we can, this kind of thing can be agree or disagree. Okay, some people, maybe their answer is that, oh, we would like to protect our country. But another person, okay, and another country, maybe they have another reason. Okay, so this is the reason. Then at the end of the day, we as the customer, the end user, we will judge whether the innovation is actually success or failure, whether the innovation actually bring benefit or they are bring harms. So for those technology that we consider, because everyone will have their own interpretation. So maybe for some people, AI is not good at all. Even I myself, for example, last time, oh, social media is not good at all because it's really create, a very hectic digital environment. Okay, that's why I'm not that active in social media because I cannot cope with the hectic communication in digital media. So everyone will have their own interpretation. And then because that's why at the end of the day, it's all up to us. Whenever we have to innovate, we have to, for example, if we follow the design thinking approach, we need to start with the empathize and couple with all the Islamic principle. We know that when we innovate, the reason we innovate, what is the purpose of our innovation, what is our niyat or intention to innovate? Is it for the people, the primary objective, the primary purpose is for the people betterment or for our self-interest? Yeah, so I think that is the reason why all these technologies sometimes, from our perspective, from our interpretation, it's create more harm. Okay, and we know that this is a harmful for us or for the others surrounding us, then we have to come up with a clear guideline on how to navigate this. Either we can totally avoid it, or we can find a middle path or middle way on how to navigate it. Something like that. Okay.
Well, thank you
So
very
I
much,
hope
Dr.
that will
Arbaiah,
answer
for
your question.
I hope, inshallah. Thank you very much, Dr. Arbaiah, for the wonderful explanation and answering the questions being asked by the audience. Well, I think that's all for today. I thank all the participants a lot for your attendance, participation, and the presence. And I'm also very thankful to all the speakers today who have prepared so well in order to pass on the humble knowledge that they have to enlighten us. Thank you very much, Dr. Rizwan, Dr. Arfifah, Dr. Nurita, and Dr. Arbaiah. And now we are coming to a close, so let's recite Surah Al-Asr to close the session. Alhamdulillah. And with this, we close. See you, inshallah, next week with some more prevalent and interesting topics. See you next time, inshallah. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.